Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right, we're here now. Oh, I am, man. Oh man, oh man. Busy. I say this every week. It's just, I'm not getting less busy. I'll say that. Who we got up in here? I see Dragnats up in here. Talk about hurry up time. Appreciate you coming through as always. I'm literally rushing in the door, rushing to my desk. None of the stuff I normally want prepared is prepared. I don't even think I comb my beard. Where's my comb? It's just, but they're blessings. They're blessings. These are all good things, good problems. Things are happening. Here we go. A little bit more presentable. Hey, what's going on, Gothic Chick? Appreciate you coming through. LG Gaming, appreciate you coming through. Look, I think tonight's going to be an intimate little night. It's like Christmas week. Not expecting a huge turnout. Didn't have too many crazy things to talk about. Wanted to talk about some things with the FROMily. I know the FROMily is here, so I decided this week I'm gonna switch it up. Right? It always seems to work out better if I lead with from and then go into any other topic. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start with from, and then we'll go to any other topics I have that I want to talk about. Marquisha, appreciate you coming through. Always happy to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for giving me your time on a Monday, during Christmas week, no less. During Christmas week. Thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you coming through. DLL Anthro. Oh, you knew. You knew. I ain't never seen you around here before, DLL. DLL. Listen, I need to know, please, if you can share, where are you from? I can't hear your voice, but maybe if you tell me where you're from, maybe it's one of the many places I've been blessed enough to be able to visit. And this way we can have a connection that way. I'm over here in New York. I know we have people that are checking in from Australia. We have people checking in from LA, Virginia, Florida, places like that. Where are you at, DLL Anthro? Appreciate you coming through. Kayla Deshay, hey, happy Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. It's a lot of good stuff going on. A lot of great things this week. I hope everybody's having a good festive week. I hope ain't nobody out here listening while you're in the car driving to get your Christmas shopping. If you waited till today to do your Christmas shopping, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. But I appreciate you all coming through. DLO Anthony, you've been following me for 2 years. Is this your first live? Thank you for coming through, and thank you for following for 2 years, man. Thank you. Man, that I really appreciate that, especially because I know how much time that is to be dedicated to one creator, or at least following a creator. So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. From Utah, I haven't been to Utah. The closest I've been was Arizona. Driving through Arizona, driving through some interesting places in Arizona. Arizona is that one place where I've traveled to that I never expected to see snow. It's probably the only place I've ever traveled to, and I was like, there ain't no way. And then I drove a little further, and I was like, it's snowing. So I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having a nice and comfortable holiday season. Hope things are going well from you. I haven't been to Utah, but I hope to make it out there. The only thing that I could, and this is no disrespect, but I'm just not very familiar with like the landmarks or the attractions in the Utah area. I was like, oh, I could go out there and I could watch the Jazz play, something like that. But let me know. Let me know if there's anything cool out there. What kind of foods you guys have out there? Like, what's the Utah dish? What's the dish if I came out to Utah that I would absolutely have to try before I came back? And you can't say buffalo, but let me know what the dish is. Me, I'm about to go out and get one or two things in a minute. Yikes. 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 Kayla, I wish you well. May the force be with you. This is gonna be a interesting day for you. I hope things aren't too crazy. I hope there's parking. I hope there's not too much traffic, and I hope everything you need is in stock. I'm wishing for the best for you. Gothic chick, yeah, we're gonna do this FROMily stuff. So there's a couple things. I did put some notes together. So I was just re-listening to some of these from creator interviews. So I wanted to talk a bit about some of the things that I caught in the interviews with the creators, both with E-Man and Sci-Fi Vision. They're the only ones that I saw that actually had the creators this year. So if there are others, I have to go and find them. But I did find some interesting things from these two interviews that I wanted to touch on. Also want to touch on some random movie news just because this is the movie blog and I love movies. I really, really do. Um, some Denzel Washington news, some Masters of the Universe, aka He-Man news, uh, Beyond the Spider-Verse news, some Sonic 3 news, and surprisingly, and this is probably one of the greatest joys in my film blogging career. I get to talk about The Mummy. Like I love the Mummy franchise, the originals. Not let me just say the first two. Um, so being able to talk about that is a pleasure. So I'm definitely excited to talk about that. May the odds be forever in your favor, Kayla. And may the force be with you. May the odds be in your favor. All of the above. We with you. We rooting for you. Um, have I had a chance to see Earth Abides? I have not. So, and that's my own fault because I honestly forgot to ask MGM to see if they could provide me with the episodes. I honestly, I'll be 100% honest with you. I've been trying to chase. I used all my time and attention with trying to watch movies. I was able to watch Nosferatu. Um, I was able to watch Transformers One. I was able to. I was trying to reach out to Disney to see if, like, hey, Disney, you remember me? We used to like each other a lot. Disney, come on. Can you help a brother out? I want to see what's going on with Skeleton Crew. I want to see what's going on with What If. And I've been left on scene. I've been left on scene. So, I guess it's over. I guess they don't like me no more. But that's the honest truth. I definitely should be shifting my attention to Earth Abides, especially because Disney just ain't messing with me. So, not in that regard. So I definitely should be turning my attention to this. Um, Thank you. You need to come up to Utah for skiing or to see Moab at Southern Utah in its entirety. Utah doesn't have any specific state dish anymore. You can find pretty much anything. Okay. Okay. Listen, I was me and the wife have been talking about where to go domestically. We do travel a good healthy amount. Domestically, I wanted to visit New Mexico just to see how it compares to Arizona. But Utah could definitely be one of those places we consider. I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is gonna sound bad. Only thing I know about Utah is from like TV. So like if you ever saw I think that TV show Banshee with Anthony Starr, Banshee, I think that show took place in Utah, and all I keep thinking about is like Mormons that know kung fu. It's like it's like, yo, I don't know if I'm built for this. I don't know if I'm built for this. Um So that's the only thing I know about Utah is from television, but I definitely want to go and just get my own opinion of it. Greetings from Romania. Oh, Alex, thank you. Okay, Google. What time is it in Romania? Oh, you up late, late. It's 12:21 a.m. Thank you for coming through and spending your time with us on a Monday night. I hope I hope you're off tomorrow, right? You're not staying up late and you got to get up early. Please tell me you're off. Um, because that's a big ask. But I do appreciate you taking the time and joining us this night. I hope you're excited to talk about From because we're gonna talk about some From. Um, what else? Yes, I'm gonna get to Earth Abides. Matter of fact, this is what we're gonna do. Let me hit them up while we're talking. Hey, big head. Earth Abides screeners. Hey, Hannah. Let's show Earth Abides. Thank you. All right. All right. Let me hit up my people. It's one. What's the other one? It's who's the other one? I'm only remembering one name. I gotta CC people because it might be a little bit because of the holiday. But let me see what happens. All right. Let's see. Let's see what they do. Let's see what happens. I sent off the email. No more excuses. Thank you so much. We're getting into this. Oh snap! People are popping up. 36 people. How is Nosferatu? Um, I got to see if I could talk about it because one thing they are pretty sensitive to is whether is they'll give us embargoes. They'll give us embargoes for stuff. So I got to see if there's an embargo on it to see if I could talk about it. It comes out Wednesday, so I can't imagine that there's still an embargo in place. But let me just triple check real quick. But if it helps, I do have some Nosferatu stuff that I'm giving away into the winners of the last giveaway. They gave me like a sweatshirt, they gave me a hat, so I'm going to be giving away that stuff. Film studio. Oh, this is the January calendar. No, I need to see the Nosferatu. Did they give me a screening for it? Let me see. There has to be a screening. Here we go. So the way they hook us up was I was able to see it at home. Let's see. Do they have an embargo listed here? No, I don't see an embargo. Let me just triple check one more time because it's I don't want to speak about it if I'm not technically supposed to be able to speak about it. All right, let me try this. Let me look for the word embargo. How about that? It's no. All right. Nosferatu. I'm not seeing an embargo. Um and they didn't offer me a screening. That's usually where I would see it when I get a screening and they were like, yeah. Um E-M-B-A-R. G. Oh, the word is coming up. All right, let me come back to that because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So let me come back to that. I'm gonna see if I could talk about it. Oh snap! More people coming in. Watching Landman by any chance? What's Landman? I never heard of Landman. What's Landman? Is it a drama series? What is this? Billy Bob Thornton, Michelle Randolph, Ali Larder. And Demi Moore. I don't know what this is. No, I've never heard of this one. Thank you for pointing this out. I might check it out. Let me see if I can put this on the radar. All right. Can you guys see me okay? Do you want me to put on the bright lights? Let me know if I look good. Let me know if I look all right or if you need some more lighting. But I'm going to put this on my list right now. I have Paramount Plus. Let me see if this is something I want to check out after I check out a trailer. Ash Ronald. We got a mod up in the house. Appreciate you. Thank you for your help, Ash Ronald. Thank you for coming through. Earth Abides. All right. Earth Abides is that good? Hold on. Is it good or you just want me to hear my opinion on it? That's what I need to know. Is Earth Abides good or is it like I just want to hear I just want to hear you talk about it. Let me know. MJ Jones. There's a place in New Mexico that does use case. It's all exchange goods. Okay. I want to check out. Wow. He's trying to be funny. Hold on a second. Apologies. Um, Let's see who else we got up in here. Hit the like button. How many likes we got? How many? Where's people watching at? All right, we got a good amount of people coming up in here from YouTube. We got some people in here from X. Let me. I know we ready to start talking about some from. What are we like? 15 minutes in. I've been saying my hellos. Nick Hewitt, appreciate you coming through. This is what you needed. Let me see. This is what I needed tonight. My FROMily. You have no idea how much I need to see your beautiful faces. I needed it too. It's been a. It's been an interesting. It's been an interesting week. A lot of stuff going on in my personal life. Nothing bad. It's just like growing pains, right? It's like you got to adjust to how life is going to be from now on. So it's a good thing. It's kind of like end of year, so it's the appropriate time. So I'm with you. I'm like, I needed some FROMily tonight. I appreciate you. What up, folks? What up, Michael Nassus? They filmed some, if not all, of Banshee and deep cut country towns here in North Carolina. Really? I could swear that show was about Utah because I could swear that show was about people in Utah. But appreciate you coming through and giving me that fun fact. I would have never guessed that, honestly. I remember Justified. I would have been like, oh, Justified was filmed in North Carolina, but I would have assumed Banshee was filmed where they claimed they were filming. But I appreciate you coming through and dropping that fun fact for me. Thank you. Scale to 10. I don't know if I could do that because like they're very strict. It's not about like that would be a review, right? Because so as a critic, we get two embargoes usually. There's a social embargo where we can just kind of give our feelings on something on social media, which is YouTube is considered. And then there's like a review embargo. And if I give something on a scale of 1 to 10, that's me giving you my review of it. So I got to just triple check. So give me a few. I'm gonna check my email again. I just want to start some of the topics and we could circle back to that. Linda, appreciate you coming through. Happy Monday, FROMily. Appreciate you as always. First 5 minutes of Earth to Bites had us intrigued. Then we watched the actual trailer and lost all interest. Currently finished the last season of Lost. So bad. I told you guys, only watch the first 2 seasons of Lost, maybe 3. But it's hard because once you get 2 seasons in, it's like, how do I stop watching? Right. But I'm sure you understand where I was coming from now, right? Not even Dominic Monaghan can save it. It gets lost. Let's see. Sundance Film Festivals in Park City in January. Cool, but busy time up here. Hereditary was shot here. The 94 Stand adaptation was shot here. Quite a lot of television movies made here. That's really cool. I don't go to Sundance. I've been invited to go to Sundance a few times. It's just I usually only visit South by Southwest, and I can only do with so many things a year traveling wise. So I usually pick that. I was thinking about adding Toronto, but I don't. I'm curious what type of films they have at Sundance. Is it all like art house films? Is it like big commercial films? Like what kind of projects they usually release there? So I'm curious. Um, let's see. And I love to see you critique some old UK comedies. Faulty Towers, Dad's Army. That would be Dad's Army sounds familiar. Have I seen Dad's Army? That sounds familiar. I might have seen this. I might have seen Dad's Army. I'm gonna see if I could jog my memory on this, but that would be listen, my critiques are it's not everybody's taste because I could be very specific with my criteria for film critiquing and television critiquing in general. Acting, story, cinematography, watchability, and rewatchability. So if I scale each of these categories on 1 to 10, and depending on where they land, I average it out, and that's my overall consensus for the film. I do it like that specifically because I think that some people, if you just say, oh, how do you love this film on a 1 to 10, if you don't break it down, you might not get a number that you can feel comfortable with in the long term. So on the movieblog.com, when I write reviews, when I have all the other people, this is the criteria when they're submitting their reviews and I'm editing it before publishing, that's the criteria they have to follow. Like my wife gets on me all the time. She's like, oh, well, what'd you give that movie? I was like, oh, it's not bad. I gave it a 6.5. She's like, a 6.5? Is this something you liked? I was like, yeah, it was a solid movie, 6.5. What's wrong with that? She's like, that doesn't sound like you like it. Is. It is. I do. It's not everything is a 10. To me, a 10 is like a movie above reproach. There's nothing wrong with it. It stands the test of time. Acting, writing, rewatchability, watchability. You put that movie on, you are visually arrested. You're sitting down, you're going to watch it because it's that freaking good. And of course, that's still subjective. To me, there's very few movies that I think fit the criteria for a 10. Infinity War is really close. It's not quite a 10. Usually, James Cameron films hit the 10 criteria for me. Like Titanic, and say what you will about it, Titanic is still one of those movies that I personally feel like if it's on at any given moment in the film, I'm probably going to sit down and watch a little bit of it. And I'm not even really into romantic comedic movies like that, but that movie was so well put together. Like it's just so well, and the small minutia to the grander storylines. It's just, to me, it's one of those most timeless films ever made. Um, I don't like the pace of further buys. They zoom in is all I will say. All right, I'm gonna see if I could check it out. Can we get the gist? I haven't watched Earth Abides yet, so I just shot an email over to MGM. I was explaining earlier. I spent way too much time trying to get a hold of the Disney stuff like Skeleton Crew and What If, and that took my attention. I'm just, Disney's not really giving me that stuff. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to shift my attention because I'm not going to. I'm not, I want to talk about stuff, and if I can't talk about Disney stuff, I'm gonna find other stuff to talk about. Who else we got up in here before I get started? Billy Bob Thornton is incredibly funny. I believe it. He's like an underrated comedian. Like I would love to see Billy Bob do stand up. Um, let's see. Yeah, it looks all right. We can see. Okay, good. Because I don't have my light on. I kind of wanted to let the LED lights have some shine and some attention tonight. So appreciate you. MJ Jones. Oh, you know what? I keep forgetting to put this thing up. Let me is that the right one? There we go. Let me open up the Cash app. I know I always forget. So and I don't want to come off as ungrateful. So when people do find it in their hearts to, donate something to me, I absolutely want to give you my time and appreciation for it. So Kayla's bestie. Kayla's best. Oh man. Hey, I wanna let y'all know. Hey, I wanna let y'all know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You look, see, this is why I love her. I love her. Right? Auntie right there. I love her. Appreciate her so much. Thank you. V, you teased me. You teased me. I saw that. You teased me. But thank you for coming through. Appreciate it anyway. Listen, it's all great. Ash Ronald, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. You're gonna be fine. Happy Festivus, everyone. That's from Futurama, right? Festivus. May Kent, appreciate you. Listen, I want to hear your theories. I want to hear your theories. So, here we go right here. So let me start real quick. Listen, if you guys have some theories, we're going through theories tonight. Drop it in the chat. I'm going to star it. We're going to get to it. If you want to make sure I don't miss it, just like repeat it. You don't have to super chat. I ain't gonna make nobody super chat it, but if you want to super chat it, that's a guaranteed way to get yourself starred. It doesn't require any intervention from me. It just automatically stars it on my list, and then I can talk to it. Sundance usually has a mix of films. A lot of films go to Sundance hoping to get picked up by a studio for why they do screen some of the. Yeah, that's the same thing with South by Southwest. A lot of films that are there usually don't have distributors yet, and they get their buyers, and they have buyers there. They have sellers and all that stuff. I actually was able to meet a couple of buyers. I was able to meet a couple of producers in South by Southwest. So I love to go there for the networking too. TJ, Truthful Ministries. What's good, FROMily? Any Christians in here? Please pray for me and Merry Christmas. Remember, it's about Jesus Christ. Amen. Listen, Christian here, very, very big Christian. Look, got my Bible right here, keeping it close. Went to church yesterday. I try not to be overly. I don't want to like impress or impose my beliefs on people, so I kind of keep it. But you definitely added to the prayer list. I'm starring this comment tonight. I'm got you, TJ. Love those initials. My mom used to call me TJ for Tony Jr. Festivus is from Seinfeld. It is. Didn't they also do it in Futurama? I think I want to say they did. I could be wrong. If you're going to dive into older Babylon 5 was one that I was always told to recommend to watch. I was always a Star Trek person, and at the time I just couldn't commit myself to too much. I was already stretched thin. It was like Star Trek, X-Files, comic books. I was just stretched too thin. But I'm definitely that's definitely a good one. So let me start this as well. Babylon 5. I'd be very listen, I get a lot of humor. And I speak boomer fluently. So I might like it. The only thing I could be turned off if they're racially insensitive. That could be a tough one for me. So yeah, if it's as long as that's not the issue, then I'm usually pretty good. Oh,
Because you could get it, you could get it, you could get it, you could get it. Yeah. It feel good, don't it?
To being fully grown. Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nikki. I appreciate you. I can't thank you enough. Yeah, growing hurts. Growing is painful. I was just saying to my wife earlier today, I was like, man, I really need to continue to work on growing out of my parents' shadow. And our parents, impress so much on us, their thoughts, their beliefs, their opinions. And we start to drop them as we're teenagers. But as we get older, it feels like there's still some stuff that lingers on, especially if you have like, for me, I have trauma, right? I have trauma with the passing of my mother. So it gets hard, but I'm definitely with you on that. Being fully grown, getting there, walking in our purpose. That is where I want to be in life in 2025. So thank you so much. You know what? Let's do it again.
Hey, I want to let y'all know. Hey, I want to let y'all know.
All right, let me I got some comments here. I got some theories here. Let me just pull up a couple things. Keep dropping some theories in here. We're going to get into it. I want to pull up my little video real quick because they kind of fell off my screen. But I do have my notes as to where I'm looking. So let me pull up my notes. All right, so real quick, E-Man did one. So I'm gonna touch on E-Man's interview with I think this one was with Jack Bender. So I'm gonna hop into that, and then I'm gonna touch on some of your comments real quick. Matter of fact, let me get to your stuff first because I have it, but you guys are giving me your time and your attention. Let me get some of your stuff before we get to my stuff, right? That's how we're going to do it tonight. So May Kent says she has a theory. The priest from season 3, the first episode in 4th season, will go to the bottle tree in the real world, then somehow end up in Fromtown. He'll have a Bible with him. I'm curious about that because they did hire a decent actor to play the priest. And we do know that, or at least it feels like the priest knows more than he's letting on. I can never forget the fact that one of the FROMily pointed out to me in the comments that Tabitha, when she was in the confession booth, she was talking to him and she was like, oh, I lost my child died, my child. And she never revealed what the gender was of the child. But then the priest, when she starts to run off, starts following behind her. And he's like, how old was your son? And he's like, and I'm like, son? Right? That's a classic TV slip up, right? That's a classic TV trope that writers use to let you know that there's something suspicious about this person. So now that he said that, I can't help but wonder how he's going to play into the show moving forward, if at all. It could be a writer's mistake. I'm not going to say the writers on the show are above that. They're not. Everybody makes mistakes. But If it's not a mistake, that is easily one of the best breadcrumbs that we'll see more from him. If he ends up in From Town, maybe. I remember, well, two things. One, if he does, he's a mole, right? Straight up. He knew that Thomas was a him. And then if he ends up in From Town, he's a mole. There's something, he's sus. Number one on the sus list, 100%. And two, um, it's possible that there's a Bible in From Town now. Somebody pointed out to me that in the scene with Tien Chen's funeral, that Tilly was sitting down and she had a book in her hand. And one thing that's really interesting is that a lot of Bibles, like this one, on the side, it's like gold or yellow accents on the pages. And it looked like she was holding a book with like gold or yellow accents. You can't see the front of the book. It doesn't say Holy Bible on it, but it was strongly implied that what she had was a Bible just based off of that. And we've already seen that Tilly was a religious woman prior to her passing. Hold on. Somebody in my house setting off smoke my kids are here. I'm letting one of my kids cook. All right. All right. They're on top of it. The house is safe. But we know that Tilly was the religious person. We know that it's possible that she had a Bible. So I do think that Christianity or Judo Christianity is still going to play a part in this show moving forward. It's just not fully developed or explored as to how that's going to be. I don't know if it'll be through the priest, but I would love for him to come onto the show and we get more from him. Let's see. I'm missing some comments here. My anniversary for a transition is coming a few weeks, so I understand about the trauma. Yeah. I talk about it because I feel like in my bottom of my heart, the more I talk about it, the more it'll help me. So one of the things that I will say is that my mom was passing. She like I went out to where she lives. She lives a couple hours from me because she was in the hospital, and they told me they had to revive her. And I went out there. They revived her, and the hospital there took care of her to the point where she could go home. And I just told my wife straight up, I'm not leaving. Right. I'm staying here with my mom. And I stayed with my mom for like, I don't know, like 7 days. I just called my job. I'm like, I'm not coming in. I'm going to work from home. And I explained to them the circumstance why I was staying there. And then my wife was like, 7 days. She's like, are we still together? Like, when are you coming back? And I was like, I just want to make sure mom is okay. And I told her I'd be back on Saturday. Right. I'm gonna come home on Saturday back to Brooklyn, stay for like a day or two, but then I'm coming right back to mom. And the morning that I was supposed to leave, my mom was sleeping in. I made her some breakfast, came back upstairs, and that's when I found her. I was supposed to go home that day for the weekend, and that's when I found her. So I didn't know at the time that was going to be the last week I spent with her. It was a blessing. It was a gift. That 7 days I normally wouldn't have just went out of my way to spend time with my mom. We even watched a movie. Some people probably assume, I talk about the Avengers movies. I talk about Black Panther. I talk about Spider-Verse. Actually, I'm going to be honest with you. My favorite movie is Shang-Chi. That was the last movie I watched with my mom. The night before she passed, like that night, we went to bed, and I was like, all right, mom, I've never seen Shang-Chi. She was like, oh, I saw it with my grandbaby, but I ain't never see it. So me and her watched it together, and I went to bed, and then the next morning she was gone. So if I'm ever asked, Shang-Chi is a 10, period. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know if this helps you in any way, but talking about it is relieving in some ways. Um, to replace Father Khatri. I don't know if we're going to get anybody to replace Father Khatri. I think it was a one and done. So I'm not sure about that. If anything, like, we'll have religious people in the show. I think somebody else we'll get more people in town. I'm pretty sure we'll get more people in town. And I'm pretty sure that somebody's going to be religious. Let me see what else we got here. I know it could be suspicious. That's what I first thought. Maybe he said some because of the theme of the lunchbox. Maybe that's a good point too. I never considered that he looked at the lunchbox and was like, oh, that's the age of it. But no, she said the baby died as an infant. So that's the other thing, right? She said he fell off the changing table. And I don't think any kid that age has a lunchbox. I think y'all reaching for season 3 priests, in my opinion, from pretty basic stories right in front of us. All theories have been wrong. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about tonight. So let me go ahead and jump into this right now. Right, this is one of the things. So yeah, E-Man interviewed Jack Bender, and there were theories about what the show is about. Gives some pretty detailed answers. So I want to warn you all that I'm going to skip around. If you want to watch the whole thing, go to E-Man's reviews. He's got the interview up there. E-Man, if you're watching, don't copyright claim this video. All right. Know where you live. But yeah, let me just talk about a little bit of things, because one of the cool things that I love that E-Man did in his theory was that he started to ask, in this video, was that he asked for the creators to debunk theories, right? They won't confirm any, but they were willing to debunk some. So in this one, he asked a couple things that I'm glad he did about debunking. I think aliens was one of them. I think aliens was debunked. But let me just,
that something's there, and sometimes it's random and the fan will pick up on it and, as give it some importance. So it's a combo.
So yeah, I think John called it the happy accidents.
Yeah.
While you guys are shooting.
Yeah.
But now that I have you here, I think that I had John and Jeff kind of debunk some things.
Okay.
I would love for you to debunk. First of all, is there anything out there, from the fans, theories, whatever? Is there anything that you've heard that you would like to debunk and say, guys, no, it's totally not that? I don't know, simulations, aliens, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's not that, but I would also say, having lived through, I was on Lost from season 1. JJ Abrams did a brilliant pilot, and then I took over the show, running it and directing the majority of them. And God knows there was a lot of that going on. In fact, I believe we were the first internet sensation where people would talk about our episode all week.
He's going to talk about Lost.
Did John and Jeff answer those questions? Did John and Jeff? You can ask me some questions. Everybody was dead. Even after the pilot, everybody wasn't dead. What happened happened. And as pissed off as people were for the final episode, which I was very proud of. But nevertheless, that's a different show. I would say that you can ask me some questions specifically, because I don't have anything that comes to mind, since I don't look at a lot of that stuff.
Well, a lot of people think, we're in the Matrix. It's a simulation. Anything to that, maybe?
Did John and Jeff answer those questions? Because I think
not these.
I love how he pivoted. He was like, "Yo,
John did
confirm
say,
what John
or at least
said.
Safely debunked," because I don't want you to spoil it.
Yeah.
He said it's not a dream, and it's not purgatory.
Right. Okay.
So those are the only 2 we got, and that's fine. That's fine. Right now, the Matrix simulation is out there.
Yeah, I would stand by. It's not purgatory, and it's not a dream or a nightmare. And I would say that at this point, it could be anything anybody sees or thinks it is.
Okay, so aliens could be on the table.
You see that look on his face? Aliens. I'm not trying to theory shame people. I know some people really feel strongly about aliens. Going by this reaction, there's a lot of reasonable doubt here. So yeah.
Maybe.
I'm not, if somebody believes aliens are controlling it or aliens are their aliens, let them live and be well.
Live and be well. So I love this, right? Aliens. A lot of people are like, oh, it's aliens. They kidnapped them. They're in an alien spaceship. Oh, the monsters are alien. I understand where they got that theory from. I do. I just didn't agree. And now from Jack Bender, one of the creators right here, one of the head trio, is saying to us, if they want to believe it's aliens, let them live and be well. Right? Like he's not trying to bash fans and or theory shame people. But yeah.
I'm not going to go there. I would say, non-denial denial, which is kind of like, yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
That is fine. Now I believe you directed.
Now there's a couple other things I wanted to just hop on real quick. Now I said this before season 3 started. I remember I did a live stream with it was me, E-Man, Teflon, I think Jeremy, Ice and Fire, and like one other creator. I'm sorry if I don't remember. It was like one other creator. It was like 5 of us in a live stream. And I was pretty quiet because at the time, everybody was like, oh, what's your theory about, who's in the wheelbarrow? Who do you think died? All this. And I had already at the time seen the first 2 episodes. I just was like, I don't want to come off disingenuous pretending like I have a theory on who it is. Or even though I saw the episode, I don't do that. So I didn't come off disingenuous, but I was very, very quiet. One thing I did touch on, which I think was really, really on the money, and I feel like I got confirmation of it inadvertently in this interview, was about the paintings. So I remember in that interview, we were talking about the paintings, and they were like, yo, who do you think painted? I don't know how we got on the topic. I was like, yo, something about the painting in Ellis's room, the main painting we see in the title shot, the Adam and Eve with the monsters on the side. And I was like, who do you guys think painted the painting? And everybody was like, oh, Ellis said he painted it. It's in Ellis's room. I was like, that's not Ellis's painting. When you look at all the artwork that Ellis is doing, he doesn't use color. He never uses color. He does charcoal. Now, as somebody who went to art school, who studied art for a solid 8 years, I'm an illustrator by my original art style. I did the same thing. I did charcoal drawings and stuff like that. Color is a whole nother animal. That's like saying, I'm gonna go from drawing in black and white to painting in colors. Like saying I'm gonna learn to write with my right hand to my left. It's so different learning color versus black and white. And that's how big of a change it is as an artist to go from that. So to think that Ellis did that one painting in color and all the other stuff he had in his room were black and white, I didn't believe it. And I was like, yo, I don't think Ellis did that. And everybody was like, well, who do you think did it? I was like, somebody else, because I couldn't say, who I really thought it was, because a lot of the information wasn't out yet. My theory was that Miranda painted it. And it was just like a lot of disbelief that possibly Miranda painted it. And I think Jack inadvertently confirmed that it was a Miranda painting in this interview. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to where they talk about the paintings. And I want you guys to hear what he says about the paintings to let me know your thoughts as well.
Oh, you did that one.
Yeah.
So it was like the 2nd or 3rd episode of season 3. We get a lot of paintings, were there any? This was in Henry's basement. Yeah, in the basement. Any particular paintings that you think were that stand out a lot? Obviously, we got the man in yellow with that whole reveal.
Yeah.
Any particular paintings that you think fans should pay attention to?
Well, I think they did pay attention, and I think that obviously there's some that I painted that I can tell you, like the man in the yellow suit.
Oh, you did that one.
Yeah, there's
awesome.
and I did the kids, the little
The
Gorky
Ankui kids.
the Ankui kids, the two of them that's at the beginning that Tabitha sees. And then the boy in white was a painting I did when she lifts that up. But I would say that, and actually one of the paintings I did early on for the show, season 1, when Julie was going to sleep in their room, and they made a bed for her, season 1, and they hung up this sort of canvas tapestry. I painted that, which is kind of monsters coming in. You could look at it in a window, and basically there is an Adam and Eve in the picture, which to me were the two of them. And that one I did, which remains on that wall behind them.
So, hear me. Jack Bender is the painter. He was the ghost painter for a lot of Miranda's paintings, right? So when we see that style, look on his wall. He's got paintings. This is his style. So when he said he did those paintings, he's saying, I am Miranda's paintbrush. And then he goes, I also painted the big joint in Alice's bedroom. This to me is indirect confirmation that Miranda actually painted that painting of the Adam and Eve. So yes, she actually was seeing things. She was seeing the future. She was seeing things that hadn't happened yet. She was seeing things that had already happened. And she absolutely, in my opinion, saw Ellis and Fatima coming to Fromtown even before they arrived. So to me, this was huge because I had that theory out there. And sometimes I put stuff out there without, I just share it with you guys. I share it on a live. I'm not making a theory video on it. This to me is like, dang, I'm right again. I'm right again. And I don't know how many people is getting right with their theories like I am, but this one made me feel good. This one really made me feel good. So thank you for that, Jack Bender. Really appreciate that. So again, if you guys haven't checked out this video, it's on E-Man's Reviews. Title is From Creator Debunks Theories, Jim's Fate, Season 4 Updates featuring Jack Bender. It's on his channel now. He posted it like a week ago. It's a cool listen. Check it out. So wanted to share that with you. Now let me hop into some more of your theories and let me know what you guys think about the paintings thing and if it helps any of your theories or if it debunks any of your theories or any theories that you've seen out there, especially as it relates to Ellis. There was something else somebody posted about Ellis I might touch on. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get to that. Who else? There were some more theories. Oh, TJ, you said, my theory is that the man in yellow suit is a demon in a pocket dimensional hell where he feeds off their hope suffering, hence no Bibles in the area of child sacrifice. I can rock with this. I can't disagree with this one. My thing is that I just don't think the man in yellow is the main demon that started all of this. I think he's definitely a problem. Like if there was, I always put up the video game metaphor. If this was a metaphor for video games, he's not the final boss of the game. Right? He's not the last boss. He's like one of the mid-level bosses you got to get through. He's like a lieutenant, right? I think he's I'm trying to remember. I put out so many theories. I think he's like maybe one of the earlier people who were part of the rituals for sacrificing the children. Maybe he was even the original one of sacrificing children and bringing them into this place. But I just don't think he's the final entity personally. I don't get final boss energy from him. But I totally rock with this, that he is feeding off of hope and suffering along with other entities in this place that is doing that. I don't think he's the only one. I think there are others, but I totally rock and agree with that. Now, I do have my theory video being worked on, right? The big final theory as to why I think all of this started. I did take the benefits that you all have given me when you guys give me super chats, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put it right back into the FROMily. I put it into a video editor who worked with me in the past. He's helping me out with this one, so he's working on it. I know he's going to take his time because it's a little dense. When I was done with the theory video, I was like, shit, this shit is like 20 minutes long. This is a long theory video. So I'm gonna release it in multiple ways. I'm going to release it as one long video, but I'm also going to kind of chop it up into separate smaller theories, because it all of the small theories support the larger theory. You have to understand a couple different things in order for the whole thing to make sense. And I don't want it to be too much to digest for people. So I don't know. You guys let me know. Do you guys want it in small chunks at first, just so you could be like, whoa, we got to dispute this? Or do you want the whole thing so we could just rip it apart? But let me know how you guys want that theory to come out. And again, TJ, love that name, and I appreciate your theory, brother. Sorry about the smoke detector, Carrie. I'm so smart. That was my kids. They're cooking. Tilly be doing demonic stuff with the tarot cards though, and her telling Fatima to run was sus as hell, like she is the mole. What the hell is that? This is at my door. All right, that's nothing. Tilly to me just reflects the contradicting behaviors of a lot of people in the world, right? Like a lot of people in the world, like, oh, I'm Christian, but I fornicate, or I drink, or they're sinners. And as someone who was at a position in her life where she was dealing with cancer and going through all of that, it doesn't surprise me that she got off her path, so to speak. People do that, right? I know people who I found out that I know people who spent thousands of dollars on like palm readings and stuff. And I'm like, you didn't want to buy Bitcoin? Like, this is okay. Okay. All right. That's what we're doing. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And I'm going to chalk that up to human nature as written by the writers. And the writers have told us multiple times in multiple interviews, from the way they're writing it, the way they view this show in their head. Like, we think of it as what they call a mystery box show, but they don't. They think of it as a drama that they're writing about characters, and then every once in a while they'll figure out how to add some of the mystery into it. Now, mystery box is this metaphor. First time I heard it was J.J. Abrams. I think he was promoting Star Trek 2, and or maybe Super 8. I think it was Super 8. He was promoting Super 8, and he was like, he had this box, and like one of his relatives gave it to him, like a grandfather or something. And it was a gift, and like he could shake it, you hear something inside rattling, but he never opened it. And the reason he never opened it is because he realized that he could always preserve his imagination of what's inside the box if he never actually opened it. If he opened it, then burst the bubble, it's over. But if he never opened the box, then his imagination can always run wild as to what's actually in there. And he preferred to maintain it like that. I think he still keeps the box unopened somewhere. So that's the first time I heard that term, mystery box. Writers have then adopted it, or maybe that was something that already existed. But to us, they call, from their perspective, they call it a mystery box show, or the mystery box aspect they don't like to focus on. So yeah, I think that was just them writing character. That was a long-winded way of saying I think they're just writing character. They're not writing more than that. But thank you, TJ. Carrie. Prayers and love for your son. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. sending all my love, sending all my support, sending all my praise. I'm taking time. I'm keeping this one hearted. You and TJ are my praise tonight. We're in this together. We are FROMily. I always imagine that our loved ones are still keeping an eye on us, and that as hard as this test is, they want us to have their passing have meaning by living and doing things in their memory. So thank you for sharing that. And I will be praying for you tonight as well. Yes, TJ, it was a blessing. It was absolutely a blessing to sit down with my mom and just talk with her and lay up under her and smell her. You know, parents have their own scent. Watch a movie with her again. She's the one who introduced me to Star Trek. She was like, before I was even into sci-fi, I was into comic books, but I wasn't really into space sci-fi. She was like, you got to watch Star Trek. And it seemed so far-fetched for her. Like, she was not into any other sci-fi. I couldn't get her to watch Marvel stuff. She watched it with her grandbaby. She would never do that with me. So yeah, a big credit to my mom. And definitely a blessing. I mean, Quan, I hope it's not as, I hope it's not like that. Honestly, I always, that one haunts me. So I hope it's not like that. But thank you for sharing that, man. I'm praying for your parents as well, your mom. Hope it's a nice long life. You know, I have people I work with, and they're like, you know, some of the people I work with, they're in their 60s or something. They're like, yeah, I'm going to go to my mom's house this week. And I'm like, your mom? How old is your mom? Like 80 something, 90 something. I'm like, God bless you. You know, 90s is goals. You know, I want to live to the 90s so I could see my grandkids, great grandkids, and they get older and stuff like that. But man, it's I want everybody to have a nice long amount of time with their family, man. Not a short time. Here for a long time, not a good time. But thank you for sharing that, Quan. Tinfoil theory. Sarah is the man in yellow wife and possibly the boy in white's mother. Why Sarah? Why Sarah? I'm curious about this, Carrie. You touching on something big here, but what do you what makes you feel this way? So yeah, let me know. Michael Nass says grief be grief and lost my big sis to pancreatic cancer in February, then my mom in May, a few days after Mother's Day. Yeah, the holiday blues are rough. Thanksgiving is not the same in my family. Mother's Day, I'm sorry, it's obviously not the same either. And you know, we're in this together every Mother's Day. I'm right here with you. You know, you guys know I go through my rough times. Like, I ain't even shave. It's like, it's hard. It's really hard. My mother was born November 27th. So it was always like the day before, the day after. It was always Thanksgiving week, right? It was always within Thanksgiving. So her birthday and Thanksgiving and us going Black Friday shopping was a tradition every year. It all intertwined in for me. So now Thanksgiving is something I honestly I don't look forward to anymore. It's a tough time for me every year. So I'm with you. It's a challenge. It's a challenge, but we in this together. That's why I go live now. Got the FROMily. You guys are helping me, holding me down. We in this together. All right, let me see what else we got. I missed some comments. Let me start some comments because otherwise I gotta. Underpick the tip of the iceberg. Dragnet, you back? Welcome back, man. The Dragnet cheat sheet. What cheat sheet you got for me? So definitely a Viking. All right, there's a bunch of stuff I'm gonna jump on. There was like 36 comments that came up while I was reading. You want all of the theory, Quan? All right, let me start this as well. Oh man, all right. You guys are laying it on heavy. So let me try to jump through some of these. I might have to switch back. I already started a bunch. Um oh, I already did this one. E-Man, don't copyright strike my man Anthony. Yeah, I'm gonna text him too right after this and be like, don't you do it. Um what can you mention about how From plays with duality and polarity on the show? How we shouldn't think of sides as good and evil, just like left path and right hand path. So I was thinking about this the other day with I brought this up oddly enough with Transformers. I was making a conversation with my son about like the Autobots use natural resources to make energon, right? And so do the Decepticons, and then they start fighting over it. But they're both like migrants from another planet, so they come to Earth and then they start pulling out our resources to make energon, and whoever wins in their little civil war gets to have the energon from the Earth for themselves. So from a human's perspective, kind of they're both evil, right? Neither one of them is really good. They're both a threat to us, and they're actually using up our resources faster than we could. So in a way, they're both kind of evil, whether the Autobots or the Decepticons. And he was like, what? And it kind of went over, it got a little dense. From does play into that because in a sense, the people who wanted to live forever, we don't know the circumstances for why they were sacrificing their children. Um, Maybe they didn't mean to sacrifice them. You know, I know back in the early days of colonialism, it was often thought that the blood of somebody who was healthy would help heal somebody with a sickness. We had that scene where Jade hallucinated someone with a dagger in his eye or a spike in his eye, drinking blood from the skull of like what looked like a small child. So I think it is playing in that way, in that these beings or these creatures aren't inherently doing anything evil, or the people are actually aren't trying to do anything evil, but this is just a result of them trying to live. Now, once they become monsters, if you know all they can eat is blood and stuff, then even worse. You know, they're not. I mean, they could still be trying to be evil, but if that's their only sustenance, then it's really not a choice. Like there could be vampires like Blade or somebody walking around who's not trying to hurt people, but he only can digest blood. So what do you do? So there's that. So I think From plays with it a little bit with duality and polarity. Um, right? Sarah was a lot like that. She's like, you know, it said to murk the boy on her arm, but she was like, she was going to do it, but she was going to do it for the good reason. We saw the same thing with Elgin. Elgin kidnapped Fatima, and Fatima was getting violated, but he was trying to do it for a good reason. I want people to go home. Um, it's a drama of a show, right? They're trying to write these characters to be in morally compromising situations where they have to question, or we get to question the decisions that they make. So I do agree that there is a duality and polarity on the show, just for that, right? This is what they want to write. When you hear George R. Martin talk about the way he writes characters that are at war with themselves, right? They're warring with their internal emotional ideologies going in two different directions, right? Jamie Lannister was a great example of that. He loved his sister, but then he also didn't want to be such a douche anymore. And those two things were conflicting. These guys love writing characters that go into morally gray areas and how they proceed out of that. We saw that with Boyd. So yeah, all the time. So yeah, totally agree with it. That's their bread and butter. That's what they love to write. Jeff, Jack, John, that's how they love to write. So it's absolutely there. Totally agree with that. Man in Yellow looks different because he has aged like the boy in white. I think the man in yellow was that age when he got murked. And I don't think he was able to de-age. That's why we see all different monsters at different stages of life. So I think he was just an older guy when it happened, personally. But I'm it's possible because he's just different, right? He's got black eyes, he's walking around in the daytime. Maybe, maybe. I just part of me just believes that if they're getting internal life, they're not aging like that. I wonder if Victor is the tip of the iceberg with regard to unreliable memories. I honestly thought the paintings are both premonitions and history book potential chapters for Julie to interact. Victor is a MacGuffin. Victor is a way for them to introduce things into the show, and then if they want to, they can just be like, "Oh, psych, Victor just had bad memory. That never happened like that." So it's good for them as writers. If they write themselves into a corner, they could just be like, "Oh, well, Victor said it, so we can." It just never happened. So that's cool for the writers. So when I'm thinking about it from the way they tell us how they create the story, they haven't even started writing season 4. They're just now starting to brainstorm it as of like a week ago. So they don't know what's going to happen in season 4. So they know how the show's going to end, but they don't know what's going to happen to all this stuff in between when they write themselves into a corner. So maybe Julie will story walk into it. Julie was not maybe supposed to be the one who threw the rope until, the internet and the FROMily made, were really curious, like who threw the rope. So then they were like, oh, here's an opportunity to have Julie be the person who did it. So they're writing this stuff season by season. So anything is possible. The biblical theme is strong. The bottle tree of knowledge, how knowledge comes with a price. Yes, it is. Matt Worth. You're not the Matt Worth I know, are you? Maybe. I know a Matt Worth personally. Where you from, Matt? You got to let me know where you're from. Where you checking in from? Yeah, I never thought about it that way, with the bottle tree being the tree of knowledge and all that. Maybe it led to them to getting information that cost them dearly. So I could see that there. And honestly, it's just that the way the Bible is and how it's a metaphor in itself for all of life's situations. There are a lot of circumstances in life where we could just say, oh, this is from that Bible story, and it fits. And it's kind of what Christians believe is the purpose of the Bible, is just so we can have a guide through our everyday life. So yeah, definitely possible. Think the painting theory holds water. Thank you. Somebody got to pat myself on the back sometimes, but thank you, DLO. I think that Miranda painted that. So yeah, Dragnat, welcome back. Appreciate you. You got to let me know what the cheat sheet is. Maybe it's in the Patreon. I got to look in the Patreon. For the Patreon people, get access to all this stuff a lot sooner. You guys are going to get the full theory sooner. I meant to ask you all if you wanted my unedited theory. I don't think it's really as entertaining as the edited one, because you're going to need the imagery to help with it. But if there's really an interest in getting the unedited one, of course, you guys get it first. How long was Miranda in from painting and living in Colleen House or the town? Now, that's something that's a great question, right? Quan Sola, you hit the nail on the head, because we never really talked about how long did they live in Colony House. How long were they there? We have never talked about it. We know that they lived in Colony House. They never lived in the other houses. They used to just play there as children, Victor and his sister, but they lived in Colony House. So I think they were there for a while, at least long enough to make that painting and then maybe use it to cover up some windows. But we don't know how long they were stuck in Fromtown. Matt Worth, also definitely Viking creation myth ties with the trees, Yggdrasil, the world tree, and the runes of old seem tied to pre-Christian myth. It's possible, but the creators talk about it all the time. Happy accidents. So as far as how much they are intentional with the lore, if you really want to be, we could be really honest with each other, I think they make this stuff They make this stuff up day by day. I don't think that they really have a concrete explanation for that stuff, other than saying that they just drew inspiration from it. There's definitely a lot of Stephen King inspiration throughout the show, right? Nightmares, people dying in their night. There's a lot of this Wes Craven, all this stuff. A lot of inspiration from a lot of super popular horror and dramas in the show. People can't watch it without drawing comparisons to Lost. A lot of inspiration for other stuff. But as far as like ink to paper, this is what we were trying to adapt. I don't agree with all of that. I think a lot of it they're inspired, but they're definitely making stuff up day by day. Maniel's definitely not pulling the cards. The entity that levitated one of the trucks in the earlier episodes. We still haven't seen how the entity looks yet. No, we have not. We have not. Trescent in New York City. Tresanti, NYC. Tresanti. Okay, you're in NYC. I know that area code. So you need to tell these people what I was saying before about where to get the good pizza. This is, thank you. Oh, this is what we doing?
Hey, I wanna let y'all know. Hey, I wanna let y'all know.
May Kent, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for this super chat, this super thanks, and everything. I really appreciate you for giving this, especially at this time of the year. I know giving is a big ask when a lot of people are still doing holiday shopping. That's just a joke. That's just a joke. I'm sorry. I know. I hope you find everything you need. I know you out there shopping right now. Not you, May Kent, but thank you. I hope we find out who's growing the food in that village. I do too. I think that whoever is orchestrating this whole thing is growing the food and providing the animals that are in the forest. What was interesting to me was when Victor talked about some guy, I forget his name. He's like, oh, I remember some guy when I was a kid, he used to eat raw onions that grew wild in the forest. So he let us know that wild vegetables used to grow when he was a kid. And I would imagine they didn't grow too far from town because this guy was just going out there grabbing it. And I honestly don't believe these people were like exploring like crazy in the forest like that, especially because how easy it is to get lost. So I want to believe that the onions were probably growing somewhere close. This is just I have nothing to substantiate that other than my gut. But that lets us know that it's more like a breadcrumb, right? Like if the entity wants you to stay in town, food's going to grow in town. If there's an entity that wants you to go out into the forest, that's where you're going to find the goats. That's where you're going to find the talisman. That's when you're going to level up and get to the next thing. So I hope we find out who's growing the food in the village. I think it's one of the evil entities that's trying to fatten these people up, so to speak. And that's where my thought is. But I absolutely am with you because we know whose voice it was on the radio. We're getting some answers, but we also get a lot of mysteries. We still don't know what it was that was walking around the settlement and on the roof at night. I really thought that we was going to get that answer in season 3. So it was a wild surprise that we ended season 3 and we have no idea what that was. But maybe they'll write something good for us this season, right? They'll come up with something to explain what that noise was and that was climbing on the roof of the settlement. So I've got a couple things that I'm still trying to find out, Mayken. And thank you again, one more time. Thank you. You know what? Let's just do it again.
Yeah, I feel good, don't it?
Thank you. I think the man in yellow is possessing an entity. I already lived in that town. Fatima said it told the monster settlers that would live forever if they sacrificed their children. I believe so too. I don't think the man in yellow is the final boss. I think he was tricked and trapped just like everybody else in his own way. So I'm going to heart some more theories and then I want to go on to the next part and then we're going to switch gears a little bit. So the next one I wanted to talk about came from the folks at Sci-Fi Vision. There was I just wanted to just kind of reinforce. Where's it at? Where is it at? Here we go. They interviewed the creators. I had gone through it, but I was juggling so much that some of the stuff I didn't really remember to highlight until a rewatch. So there was some stuff in this interview I wanted to highlight just to give you guys some more of my perspective, how I look at this stuff as well. So I remember I said the other day, like, you know, and I say, I'm going to say it to Taryn again next time I speak to him, you know, put out a book, man. Write this stuff down. You're coming up with some incredible creative writing here. And I think you should take it. I think you should take it, write a book. You obviously got an audience with the FROMily. We'll read it if you promote it and read it. You know, we're already following you. Put it out there. Let's see. Man, I got some people with green thumbs out here explaining the stuff to me about gardenings. So I'm gonna start some stuff real quick because otherwise I'm gonna lose it, and I don't want anybody thinking I'm ignoring you. All right, I got some stuff started. Trying not to miss anybody. I'm not trying to ignore anybody. Let me hide this comment real quick. And I just wanted to touch on this real quick. Again, if you're creating something or if you have a good theory that's really in depth, yo, put it out there on your own. Put a book out there. Read it. Promote it to us. We'll write it. Heck, if you create a book based off of your theory from and you publish it, I will promote it. So let me just put that out there.
I guess we could just get started. And then whenever Jeff gets here, we can get him to jump in.
Sure.
So my first question was, can you talk about, like, have you started the 4th season? I mean, are you currently working on it, or have you not started production yet?
We are currently marinating on the 4th season. So yeah, nothing official has gotten underway yet.
So this is from 12 days ago, just so you know, right? And they're saying they haven't started writing season 4 yet. They're just marinating it. It's not, there's no ink to paper, nothing is typed. So yeah, yeah, let me, I saw Matt in here talking about Buffalo. If you from Buffalo, then I know you, but if you're not, I know a lot of people don't want to be from Buffalo. I understand why.
Okay, so you haven't written anything. That's kind of what I figured, but there's so many things leaking online. It's kind of like you wonder. So
somebody mentioned to me, they were like, hey, the all 10 episodes for season 4 leaked online. I was like, really? Wow, that's remarkable.
That's not possible.
Hey, John, I read all those 10 episodes, and I think I've got a few notes. Otherwise, they're great.
Yeah. Oh, good.
They joke about it. They joke about it. They joke about how they read the theories and they take notes. So I just want to reiterate that to you guys. Theories and notes and all that stuff. Oh, you done? Yeah, give me a few. Dinner's ready. Yeah, you can bring it on over here. Don't worry, they understand, they respect it. Here you go. Appreciate it. Thank you. Save me some more. Don't eat the whole thing.
I'll save you another slice.
God bless you. Thank you. So yeah, they joke about it, right? They're actually running jokes about how they see theories online and they take notes. A lot of this stuff, they're not, you know, just if you're going to, I understand if you're like, oh, I don't care. I spent, you know, X amount of time making this theory. And if they use it, that's even better. I feel satisfied that they used it. Great. These guys are making a lot of money off of it. And I think it would be great if you guys who are investing all this time, that you guys made some money off of it too. Matt is from Buffalo? No, it ain't. No, he ain't. Stop joking. Matt is not from Buffalo. If the Matt is from Buffalo, he would text me right now. Props to kids cooking for him. He made me a pizza. So my son works at a pizza shop where he makes pizza and stuff all the time. So we went, got some dough, some cheeses, and he made me a pizza. So I'm going to check it out. He gave me a fork. So I got a fork. So yeah, I just wanted to point this out to you guys. Like they're joking about it.
Good, great. Work is done then. Job's done. We're all ready to go.
Yeah, all ready to shoot.
Hold on.
So I just wanted to point that out to you guys. And then there was one other thing in this interview I wanted to point out here. And this was an interesting one. I thought it wasn't super major, but I know it's one that we associate the iconography with the show.
Segue to my next question.
And it's about the crows, right? Like we see the crows, we're like, oh, what do the crows mean? A crow came crashing through the window when Tilly was reading tarot cards. We see crows when they see the tree. What do the crows mean?
Question, which is from my cousin Lizzie, who's 9.
Whoa, what happened there?
She watches this without being terrified, but we'll leave it at that. She thinks that
Our show, that doesn't stop us from people reading this.
That's also
Oh, I don't know what happened to my playback speed. It's still custom. Can I get normal? All right, let me try refreshing this. I don't know.
Monster inside the people. It's always more exciting than when he's writing about cars, to me, turning into monsters. So
segue to my next question, which is from my cousin Lizzie, who is 9, who I don't know how she watches this without being terrified, but we'll leave it at that. She thinks that maybe the crows represent people that died in the town. And I know you can't answer whether that's true or not, but can you maybe say, should we be looking at the crows? I mean, do they represent?
No, but when Lizzie has an idea for a TV show, please ask her to pitch it, because she's a little genius. And I'm not
I think so too.
I'm just saying, just to come up with that metaphor is kind of
yeah, that's right. Murder.
So the crows do not signify people of past. It is, and I one thing I notice is that when we're tiptoeing around something that means something, I always look at John's face, and sometimes he'll just give this look where he's like, "Oh, I'm listening," and then he'll change his face up when it's like to a poker face sometimes. So like if you just look at this whole thing again, right, and you see him, he's like, oh, he's whimsical here. He's got a little bit of a smirk
outside the bar.
He's excited to talk about
what
it.
is still today one of my favorite lines in the show, which is I would have rode you like an alabaster dragon.
And you can see his expression here, right?
And we had already killed her.
The conversation,
she's so.
Our show that doesn't
represent people that died in the town. And
now he's got his poker face on. So there is something going on with the crows, but it's definitely not that, they're the spirits of the people.
I know you can't answer whether that's true or not.
We're dancing around something important because he put his poker face on.
Should we be looking at the crows? I mean, do they represent?
No, but when
and I love that Jeff immediately dismissed it. Yeah, rest in peace, Trudy. Trudy was sometimes they get some really good actors and they regret murking them. So yeah. So rare for planning and television these days. It's only good, or it only turns out good in my opinion when it's an adaptation of something. When it's an adaptation of a book or something that's already a complete story, then it turns out way better. Like Three Body Problem, great. They don't have to make up what's for next season, even better. So yeah, that's one of those for me. Get out of here. Matt from Buffalo. Small world. Look, all right. Here's the real test. Matt, what was the name of the street of the apartment above the hardware store? That's my real test. If you're the Matt Worth. What was the name of the street of the apartment above the hardware store? But yeah, I hope they are watching Theories. I do too. I think they do. John like denied it in one video, and then in another video, Jack or Jeff was like, yeah, he reads that stuff. So yeah, it definitely goes down. Dragnet, I actually starred this one. You always miss 90% of my questions. Anyway, the movie blog, I know it's because I'm Australian. Stop hating on the Aussies. I got nothing against Australians, man. Y'all made some of my favorite people in the world. Crocodile Dundee, among others. So it's one of those places I definitely want to visit when I get an opportunity. I've been talking to my wife all the time. We got to visit Asia. We got to visit Australia. We got to visit India. I don't know if I want to go to like Korea, China, or Japan. Maybe all three. But I definitely want to check them out. Look, South London reseller, thank you. Wishing you the best happy holidays as well. To you and all your loved ones. Always appreciate everybody coming through and showing support. I'm going to go to some of these starred comments real quick. I was just going to some randoms that weren't starred. Oh, shit. Oh, my goodness. Matt. It really is you. It really is you. You passed the test. Okay. So me and Matt go way back for like 20 years. And man, small world. And I happen to be going live right now. This is wild. This is wild. I almost want to tell stories. Me and Matt have gone through some real scary situations in life together. Razzle dazzle, the cutter. We jumped off of a roof together. We've gone through some wild stuff in life together. So yeah, always, man. Thank you. Appreciate you coming through, Matt. You just need to let me know what you need to know about From. We go back. Man, thank you. All right, let me look at some of these starred things real quick. Man, that really threw me off. Oh, there was something about Dragnet. I missed a bunch of stuff from Dragnet. There are at least 4 known settlements, 4 seasons. What were you saying? All right, you know what it was? I was looking at it, but I thought that some of this conversation was just internal to the chat, so my eyes just glanced over it. So yeah, man. I'm still just a little in shock that Matt is in the chat. At the movie, Miranda's picture of the man in yellow, he's younger. Maybe. I don't really think that Miranda was that great of an artist. No offense, but she wasn't painting stuff photorealistic. So maybe he was younger, but I think that part of it was just art style. And the other thing is that they painted the man in yellow before they actually cast the man in yellow. So if you look at the interviews that I saw, the man in yellow has done some interviews, and he said, like, when he was hired, he didn't even watch From. Right, he just saw like the bookend episodes. So that's the first episode and the last episode of each season. And he kind of started to watch the show after he filmed his scene or something, or after he got hired. So they didn't know who was actually going to play him. They just had an idea of what the general outlook of his body was going to be. So I think that's part of the reason why he looks older and all that stuff. Because again, they're making this stuff up, some of this stuff up as they go along. So the talismans have caught my imagination. They have always hinted at more of an earlier cycle. Could there be a cycle that occurred prior to the 15th century? I don't think so. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Because I'm definitely going to get into that in my theory video. Wild onions grow everywhere, not cabbage patches, though. Okay. So the cabbage patches could have been left over from the settlement, you're saying? Onions can grow everywhere. They just, wherever they land is where they grow, right? They have roots sticking out of them, so they are their own seed, so to speak. Vegetables go to seed every other year and spread naturally. Okay, that makes sense to me because this is a fruit, but I have tomatoes that I grow in. Every time I go where my tomatoes are, I'll see a wild tomato plant growing like on the opposite end of the space. It's like, oh, they were in the back left. Now in the front right, there's tomato plants. Like, how did this happen? And yeah, I believe that. I totally agree with that. Once we saw the paintings in the basement, I knew Miranda painted the Adam and Eve campus. Yes, Mr. Obnoxious. Thank you. I love that avatar there. It kind of reminds me of Bobby from Bobby's World, the old Howie Mandel cartoon. But I love it. And a little bit of Recess, the old cartoon Recess. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm glad somebody else recognized that. Once you see someone's art style, like if you're a comic book fan like I am, I know my comic book artists on site. I could tell a Todd McFarlane from a Mark Bagley, from a Stuart Immonen, from a Travis Charest, from a Jay Lee, from a Jim Lee, from a Rob Liefeld, from an Alex Ross. I know their signature styles, and their styles are so identifiable that few of them you'll really confuse. And when I saw Miranda's painting and the painting of the Adam and Eve, I was like, same artist, 100%. Right. They always have just what they need to get by and give them hope at the last minute. I might have missed the context of this one, Matt. So I definitely gotta go back and see who that one is, what that one was about. Man, Matt, how did you even get here? Thank you for coming through. Man, I'm gonna tell Scott I saw you. I'm gonna tell Scott I saw you up in here. Do you think Eloise will ever show up in From? Yes. I mean, she did show up in From as a little girl. It was a flashback, but will we see her as an adult? I think we will. I honestly think we will. I think that's coming. Lavish struggle. Our position relative to the From creators starting to feel like the heretic scenario. Yeah, we're on opposite ends here, right? We're not viewing the show the same way. The writers have it as they're writing characters, and they love writing character drama because as a writer, that's what it's really attractive, right? It's really attractive to like either write yourself or people that you know, or write and project them into characters in your stories. So I think that they're having a lot of fun with writing about the characters, and that the mystery is secondary to everything. FROMily theory. I agree that the gardens and planting areas are seasonal, but the villagers have stopped being nomadic. Okay, I think you were saying something. I missed it. Maybe you were saying something about people moving from one settlement to the other. So I got to go on Patreon to see the whole thing, so we could go into that in depth. But yeah, that's definitely a good place to send me a nice long form messages on Patreon. So appreciate you doing that. What you got for me, Bamboo Lover? This doesn't have nothing to do, but am I the only one who finds it odd that when Acosta shot Nikki, the monsters couldn't enter? Technically, the bullet broke the window. No, I don't think that's surprising to me because I think it needs more than that. When we saw Boyd in the woods when he first found the talismans, he had like leaves covering the door, and they can see right through the leaves. It was like, oh, we see you there, but we're not coming in. So I think there's just a little bit more to it. I don't think like a pinhole hole is big enough. Otherwise, a keyhole would be enough. I think it actually has to be like a sizable opening. So I hear you, Bamboo Lover. Is that from The Incredibles? That avatar? I hear you. I get distracted easily, but I think that I think I don't think that one is really super surprising to me. I mean, the talisman's like the date to pre-Egypt, so it's possible. However, there would have to be things short time. Dragnet, honestly, I just don't think it's that deep. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think the writers have thought about it that deep. I don't think it's something where they saw things in specific history and they're drawing from it. I think that they're drawing inspiration from a bunch of different stuff, and eventually they're going to figure out how to tie it all together. But I don't think that they have an idea of how all this stuff ties together yet. And I definitely don't think that they were that intentional with the mystery. You know, that's what it's when you watch these interviews, it absolutely feels like these guys aren't. And a lot of times what they're doing is they're going into the forums, they're going into YouTubes, they're seeing people's theories, and sometimes they're looking at what we gravitate towards, and then they'll be like, oh, that's inspiring. They really want to know who threw the rope. Why don't we because we didn't know Julie was going to time travel, but why don't we make Julie time travel now? And then she could be the one who threw the rope. That definitely wasn't a thing. It was never going to be a thing about somebody throwing the rope to Boyd, but now it became a thing because we made it a thing. So here to support what you're saying, if you make enough noise about this in this forums, then maybe they'll see it, and then they'll borrow from what you create, and then it'll be true. But I don't think that's the case right now. Not right now. Oh, somebody else, Bamboo Lover. They put up a board up immediately. They did, right? I got to go back, but I kind of remember they were like, oh shit, and covered it up. Let me see how long we've been talking about From for like an hour now. All right. Whoever grew that food pissed the crops got ravaged by the townsfolk. So it was protected by those scarecrows. Maybe it was food for whoever was climbing on the roof. You know, maybe the person on the roof was Eloise and she's like half monster now. Maybe. Um, Food for 40 plus people isn't just naturally occurring in a small area. No, but neither is goats and stuff showing up in the woods and cows, right? We don't see wild cows in forests. So there's a lot of supernatural stuff going on here, Matt. So I'm with you that the vegetables are weird, but there's so much stuff that's weird that I think we're spinning our wheels trying to make logic of some of this stuff right now. Carrie, I explained some of the Sarah thing above. Oh my goodness, you're gonna make me scroll. All right, some of you are tagging each other, so I know that you guys are talking to each other rather than me. All right, having to always tell Boyd when they are laughing at him why. She wants him to know and feel helpless. Also, she waited for the Matthews to come into town. She said the voices told her. I agree. I do agree that Sarah is being told things intentionally to further inspire hope in Boyd. And I think when Boyd raises his hope level and then fails, all of that, I say hopelessness or that feel or that letdown is what really fuels them, right? The higher you up, the harder you fall. And they need Boyd to keep climbing up so he can fall down hard to feed them. I think absolutely they're using Sarah as a conduit or as a person to communicate through in order to inspire Boyd to get his hopes up. Right? They're laughing at you. He takes that stuff personally, like on some Michael Jordan. So I totally agree that he is out here being fed this information through Sarah. And that's why his skin only moved once. His skin only moved once. I don't know why it hasn't happened again. I think in E-Man's interview with the cast, they did confirm it wasn't worms, right? Because some people thought it was like kind of like what happened with Boyd with the worms, and they were like, "Nah, that's not it. That wasn't worms." So that I agree with you. They do know how the show will end. They know how the show is going to end. But something that's really interesting that they said in E-Man's interview is that they also know what will happen with the town after the show ends. So the town is going to persist. The town isn't going to be like destroyed or anything. It's still going to be there. So they have an idea for the town. They probably are going to be making it up as they go along as to what's going to happen to each character. Like they admitted that Jade was originally supposed to be a woman. Victor was originally supposed to get murked by the end of the first season, and then they just revise plans. They just change it up. So yeah, definitely they know how it ends, but a lot of the stuff in between is going to change. FROMily Theory, appreciate you coming through as always. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. I'm calling it now. Boyd will get murked next season. Maybe. I could see it. My only thing is that I think the writers themselves, Jack, John, Jeff, will be apprehensive to do that because one, he's the biggest star on the show, and two, I don't think they want From to end up like The Walking Dead when they took out Glenn. I think that they feel that some characters are just too risky to touch, and this is what they do for a living. So I don't think they want to get rid of their Mickey Mouse, so to speak, and try to keep running Disney. So it's possible. I think Boyd will get murked maybe in like the penultimate season, like the season right before the last is when he's on the table. But yeah. I just watched The Heretic. Certain things started to make me think of that. I didn't watch Heretic yet. I have it. I'm always slow to watch like horror stuff. I watched Nosferatu. I don't know if I could react to it. Don't try to read my face. What else? There's a lot of comments that came in. Odin, the one-eyed, drinking blood, Bifrost, faraway trees, parallels. You know, if that's the case, then Freddy Krueger's going to show up because people are getting murked in their sleep, right? Like they're drawing inspiration from this stuff, but I don't think it's an adaptation of that story. And as far as the one eye, I think we'll get to that because there is a lot of repeated imagery in the show. But as far as us finding the parallel in that, we just also found a parallel in the Bible, right? Like they're drawing, it's like they're going grocery shopping. They're seeing this on the shelf, they're seeing that on the shelf, they're seeing this, and they're grabbing all the ingredients of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and voila, from. The village is supposed to be nomadic. I was wondering if there were just more villages and more people out there. I had a theory before, like maybe there's another town, and maybe there's another town full of people that just never found talismans. Maybe there's more people out there and they just don't know it because the people in From Town just don't really leave From Town like that, except for Boyd. So maybe. There are at least 4 known settlements, 4 seasons. Do we have 4 I only know of the 2, right? I know From Town and then the colonial settlement. What are the other 2 you have for me, Dragnet? Or is it in the Patreon? Let me open up the Patreon on this other screen. You said you had like 100. Oh, snap. You wasn't playing. You're killing me with the time changes. I was out and I thought I was going to get home later than I thought. Don't go to China. Don't go to China, man. Listen to me. I live in America, the United States of America, where people voluntarily admit on polls that half the country doesn't like me just because of the way I look. 50%. So that means half the people I interact with on a daily basis, just riding the subway, wish I wasn't there. Half the people I work with wish I wasn't there. Like, China's not that intimidating to me. It's not. It's like, oh, it's like Lower Manhattan. Hopefully they don't spit on my food, or at least they cook it and, take out all the impurities before I eat it. But yeah. What else? Yeah, you gave me some long messages in here. So, oh yeah, it's almost Christmas for you. Merry Christmas. Let me keep climbing through these, and then I'm gonna switch gears. I'm gonna switch to some news, and then I'm gonna wrap up. We're almost at 2 hours. Let me move ahead. Do I have any more start I wanted to talk about? No. All right, real quick. Ravens are Norse mythology. Crows are a different animal. I love this. What you love, Quan? What you love? Us just talking about theories? I appreciate it. I love that. FROMily theory is crows makes different with the crows don't even know. All right, you guys are talking to each other. FROMily, I'm gonna need y'all to put like at the movie blog when it's for me. I've done a whole theory video. When Ethan is on the tree, you see 2 crows land. Did a whole theory video on it. I think I remember that. I know the crows have symbolic meaning and the trees have symbolic meaning. And I made a short video about the monsters hate the trees. And I think that there's something about the trees that the monsters just don't like. And I love how these theory videos are aging like fine wine, right? I put up like Tabitha is the Cromanacle, and people are like, no, she's not. Jade is the Cromanacle. Yeah. And then we find out, actually, And now the monster's hating the trees, and then we see Smiley running after Miranda before she can get into a tree. I feel like some of these theory videos are aging like fine wine. Here we go, at the movie blog. I'm calling. Oh, we already saw that one. I need to see Nosferatu. Watch it. Let me know what you think. Isn't the next season supposed to be I don't think they have a firm idea of how many seasons they're gonna have, because here's the thing, right? This is like saying, you know, I'm only gonna work at this 6-figure job for 5 years and it's voluntary. Like, yeah, I retirement, forget it, you know, story. These guys are making money off of this. They you know, on one hand, they want it to go as long as they can, but on the other hand, they don't want it to end up like From. So I think that there is going to be an end, but you got to also remember that this is peak stuff for them right here. They're the #1 show on a cable network. That is big for them. So I don't think that they're going to be in any rush to really end the show prematurely, or just for the sake of story. To be honest, I think they're going to try to, you know, put their kids through, knock out some bills and stuff. Dragnet, what you got for me? I watched a lot of the interviews with John. I honestly don't think he knows what's coming next. Thank you. You watch these interviews with John and you can see he's still creating. What are your plans for Christmas? Are you planning on watching the classic Christmas movie Die Hard? Christmas, I have the gifts for the kids. I have the gifts to open for myself, probably go to the in-laws' house, and then still catching up on some screeners. So I got a lot of Christmas screeners. I don't usually do Die Hard for, like, I don't have a Christmas movie. So I might like watch football because football is supposed to be good. I want to watch a movie. Like, I like to show off to my family when I have stuff that's out. I'm like, hey, you guys want to watch Wicked? You know, we can watch Wicked. I have it here, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't have any specific movie that I'm like, I gotta watch this for Christmas. If I could, I would make everybody watch Lord of the Rings, the extended edition. But my family gets tired of me doing that. It was an annual tradition of mine for a long time. Earth Abide is really good. Well, listen, all right. I've been hearing mixed things about Earth Abide. Some people are like they like it. Some people are like they don't like it. I'm shooting the email out to MGM. I usually don't, go into the dark places to get content. Like, I'm an established critic. You guys, I'm promoting your stuff. Let me get it. So that's usually my approach. But if I sent an email at the beginning of the stream, like you guys were reminding me, I sent an email out to my contacts over at MGM asking if I can get the show. And hopefully I can. Let's see how this goes. I hope they don't drag it too much. Me too. To me, 5 is the sweet spot. 6 if you're going to push it. But 5 is the sweet spot to me. But I think they just got to get their stuff done, right? They got to get their stuff. I'm from North London, South London. Oh, you guys are talking London. No shit. My wife and I watch all 3 extended editions every year, starting at 4 p.m., finishing around. It's an awesome 10 hours. I love it. Some people don't even know about the Mouth of Sauron. I love it. David, if you look at an image, wait a minute. I skipped over one. Dark Matter was really good. Yes. And I actually have deep dives on every episode of Dark Matter. So I covered it like I did from going episode to episode. As soon as it comes out, I'm all over that. There's 2 Apple shows I'm really looking forward to: Dark Matter and Foundation. Maybe I'll watch Severance. People keep telling me about Severance, and they're like, I know season 2 is coming. Apple is really cool with giving me access to their stuff. So maybe that'll be the next stuff that we do deep dives on if there's an interest in it. So I don't know how many people are into Severance, but maybe. Oh, what's this? I am going to have to watch The Wheel of Time because I'm supposed to speak with Rosamund Pike, Joshua Shadowski, Daniel Henney, Rafe Judkins, and more. So the Wheel of Time is definitely something that's going to happen now. Maybe I'll start that over Christmas. If you look at an image of the hero's journey before the first threshold, from ordinary to special world, there are guardians at the threshold. This lines up with fall equinox, Corvus appears. All right, you guys are talking about what are the meanings of the crows. That makes sense. Guardians of the threshold. I'm not going to disagree with that. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? It is a great anime, which is in season 5. That's the name of the anime? I might be too old for this. Like, what? Waffle Party Severance. Squid Game's dropping soon. They did have their premiere. I didn't ask for screeners. Actually, funny story, at South by Southwest, you guys know how they have the game show. I met the casting agent for the game show, and I was like, yo, I want to be on the show. And he was like, yo, send me your video, and I'll put you to the list. And I was like, I could be on Squid Game. And then I was like, but I have a job and kids. I can't just disappear for weeks at a time. So I didn't follow through on that. But true story, I had a really big opportunity to be on Squid Game. So yeah, let me switch gears here. You guys can still drop some From stuff in the comments. You guys know how I do. But I'm going to start talking about some random things that I also like that are in the world of film. And this is like really, really random, but this one caught my eye when I saw it. Denzel Washington has been baptized and received his minister's license. He is now Minister Denzel Washington. I was just like, wow. This floored me. And he gave an acceptance speech that I didn't even hear.
The award. She says, boy, man gives the award. God gives the reward. Yes, she does. Miss Ruth Green.
I'm not going to go into it. It sounds overly religious. Well, not overly religious. To me, there's no overly religious, but I don't want to rub people the wrong way who are not religious in that regard. So I'm going to listen to this in my time after we go offline. I thought that was really cool. Denzel's doing interesting stuff in his latter part of his career in life. So I really, really enjoy that. What else you guys are saying? Yes, that's amazing. I'm going to Google it. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? All right. Oh, shit. It came right up. Is this hentai? It better not be hentai. It also goes by Don Machi. I see it. What is this? Are you sure SK isn't really a woke place, more metrosexual than woke? SK, what are we talking about? What's SK? I just know America is not very nice to me all the time. No season 2 Squid Game for me. Heard they bring in woke nonsense into it. Oh, I mean, I'm not going to touch that. Like, part of me was like, oh, everybody has a whole different definition of woke, right? And I'm not personally always a fan of how it was created to mean one thing, and then it feels like another group co-opted the term to be something else. So I'm not a real, I always get a little weird when I hear people use that term, because I'm like, you literally took a term that meant one thing to make it something else. And that's not cool. That's almost like, to me, like when people race swap your favorite character. Like, why did you change something from the way it was? It was supposed to be this, and then you made it that. Now it bothers me. So I get it. I get it. I need to know clarity when I hear that term woke, because then I also see it used as a scapegoat for other things. It's like, oh, I don't want it woke. I don't want DEI. I just want good writing. What was bad writing? What's bad writing? Tell me about the writing you don't like. Well, and then people they start to malfunction because they can't say where the writing is, and it's instead they start expressing their feelings about something. So yeah. Severance season 2 looks amazing too. I need to check it out. I was told to watch Severance season 1 and I didn't. I work in an office space, so it probably would be right up my alley. Like The Office, so I'm gonna check it out. It's so cool about Denzel. Hey, I love this about Denzel. I love that he's doing really interesting things outside the world of film. He's producing stuff for his kids. He's really when I see a CEO hire his son to be a VP or something like that, or put their kids in a position of power, I love to see when everybody gets an opportunity to do that. A lot of celebrities coming to the truth recently. Hey, good. How do you feel about Bill Skarsgård as an actor? I think he's a really, really, really good actor who doesn't always have the best role selection. I think he's somebody who could have been the next Austin Butler, to be honest, right? Like I could have seen him in Dune as Fade, and he would have did an amazing job at it. I saw Boy Kills World. It was one of my favorite action movies of the year. But I just think a lot of times he ends up in films or in roles where he doesn't get viewed in the best way. So yeah. You watch it with your kids. My kids are now Lord of the Rings fans because of it. I haven't made them watch Rings of Power yet, but they do like Lord of the Rings. I know Rings of Power is extremely divisive to people. It's like, you either love it or you hate it. And thankfully, people who find out that I'm one of the folks who love it, they don't beat me up for loving it. They're just like, oh, well, it's changed from the book. And I'd be like, oh, well, so's the word woke. Here we are. South Korea. Okay. I haven't been to South Korea. I have people who I know who are South Korean, and I often see in my Instagram feed like how futuristic South Korea is and how they have these mega cities. Like North America, United States, we only have like one mega city, 2 if you count LA, and I don't. Like LA is like the size of a borough here. So New York is like a mega city, and like South Korea and China have like 20 of them. So I'm always curious. I think at the end, Boyd is going to pull a Bruce Willis at the end of Armageddon by sacrificing himself for the people to set free, either dying or staying in the town forever. I believe that too. I don't think Boyd is going to make it to the end of this story at all. But I think he is. I just don't think they're going to get rid of him too soon. Let's see. Making the Little Mermaid black was woke. I can see that. I can see your point in that. It's just when people say they don't want woke, I want good writing. I'm like, you got to explain how woke means writing. Let's see, Steed, we got a cowboy up in here. We have a cowboy up in here. Fun fact, I put this up on my Instagram stories. Cowboys were originally black. Cowboys were all black, and it was actually a slur towards black people working in those times. They were like, the other people were like cattle men or something like that, and the black people were the cowboys, right? And it was supposed to be a slur for them. And then it became a popular thing for everyone to use, like, oh, I'm a cowboy. Like, oh, you're black? No. Oh, okay. And so it's really interesting how, how that works sometimes, right? It's cool for people to be cowboys, whether they're not black, but when you make somebody black that wasn't originally black, then it's a big problem. It's like having a bunch of white people live in a condo. It just wouldn't happen. They have their own place. It's called Asgard, right? Asgard is a whole bunch of white people, and that is their version of Wakanda. So it kind of does happen. It's just not Africa. Mood Block, do you think Ethan is slowly losing his memory as Victor is gaining his memory? Is linked, like Ethan is going to Victor? Yes. So I mentioned that to E-Man up before, and I was talking about how I think my man is starting to forget stuff. He talked about how he's starting to forget Tien Chen. He's forgetting Thomas. And it could just be because he's young and he's getting older. I know I don't remember everything from when I was, 8, 9, or 10. But I do get the impression like that was an intentional seed planted to let us know that he is losing his memory. I'm going to open up the next video real quick. The next thing that I'm going to talk about real quick. And then while I'm addressing some of these comments, and I'll even touch on the woke stuff in between this conversation. I'm not going to shy away from it. I do have my feelings on it. I'm not trying to rub people the wrong way or be like, oh, I'm extreme or anything like that. Matt will let you know I'm a pretty chill and open dude. I just don't like when things get obfuscated in language. Like I'm hiding behind this word. So that's my thing. What do you all think? Yeah, somebody let us all know what we think about Earth Abides, because yeah, it's wild stuff to me. Woke is being entitled enough to think their delusions matter more than anyone else's. So then everybody's woke, right? They're like, oh, Tolkien is only supposed to be like this, and they describe the people like that. My opinion matters more than yours. Then you're woke. Oh, the Little Mermaid is supposed to be Scandinavian and redhead, and that's how she was originally written. And my opinion matters more than you're woke. If that's the definition. But yeah, that I don't think that's the definition. I've been trying to figure out what the definition is. But David, I don't think that's the definition, because you just see, I can literally apply that to anything. And if you can apply it to anything, then I'm poking holes in your theory. Boy Kills World is a film. I got a review for it on the movie blog. If you look through the channel under the reviews playlist, I have a review for it. If you haven't checked it out, it's not like one of my super funny reviews. So I'm gonna start getting into it. Lord of the Rings is brilliant, yes, but not everybody likes Rings of Power. So some people look at it and be like, Black Elves, no, bad writing. And I'm like, well, what did he say that you didn't like? Well, then some things I agree with. They're like, my man got stabbed and then got up. Like, that is some wild writing right there. Like, I don't understand how he got this plot armor like this. But other stuff, just being black is not, to me, inherently bad writing. That's casting, right? There's a difference between writing and casting. If you don't like the casting, say you don't like the casting. If you don't like the way the story progressed, then say you don't like the writing. But they're not the same thing. Casting and writing is not the same. And I don't think anybody has the right to hide behind casting as writing. Steed, yes, cowboys was a slur. Now it became cool. So everybody wants to be a cowboy. It's no longer just for black people. White people always take what's cool from black people. Unfortunately, always take it without giving credit. My sister's half black, and I grew up with a lot of black culture. That's cool. You know, it's racism is a thing. It's really easy to not understand other people's cultures, especially because, you know, we're raised around the people around us, and they, whether we want to admit it or not, they impress a lot of their beliefs on us. So we sometimes walk around with things that we were taught from other people without actually meeting or experiencing it. You know, I met people who are like, oh, I don't like black people. Well, how many black people have you met? You're the first one. Right. And then I have other people who are like, oh, I don't like black people. Well, why not? Well, because when I was younger, a black person attacked my little sibling really badly. And ever since then, I've had this thing about black people. All right. Now I understand where you're coming from. I don't think it's cool that you're projecting that on all black people. But now I understand where this started. So, yeah, anyway. Yes, boy was a derogatory term from blacks. Yes, it was. And it still is. It still is. Being woke shouldn't be used in that way. It's the opposite meaning of the word. Why use woke in the sense of the Little Mermaid? All right. Here's what woke meant. And it means something different now, right? So when you look it up, it says woke has multiple meanings now. It didn't always have multiple meanings. It was like either you're asleep, you're awake. That was woke. And then there was the other woke, which was to be used to bring aware of or well-informed of political or cultural sense. So if you were just like, hey, you know, I think police really are beating the hell out of black people more than white people. Now you woke up. You're not asleep anymore. You woke. You're aware. Like, oh, snap. black people aren't getting hired as much as other people. This is crazy. Or black women are dying in labor, in child labor, more than other people. You're woke. That was what it meant. Now it means you're being something else in addition to that. You can't just be like, oh, I'm sensitive to women dying in childbirth, because if you say that, now you're it's a negative term. You're woke. So yeah, it's like I said, I'm not a huge fan of how the term meant to just be aware of how of people outside of your culture, and now it's being used as like, you know, Florida people. Florida is where woke comes to die. Like, and they're burning books about slavery, and they're saying, you know, it was used to teach black people skills. So I'm not a huge fan of that view of the word woke, but it is what it is. Jared Leto's set to play Skeletor in Masters of the Universe. Cast also set for villains Trap, Jaw, Triclops, and Goatman. So a lot of people are sitting here seeing this news about Jared Leto being cast. Maybe I should do this real quick, right? Can I do this? There we go. Jared Leto is cast as Skeletor in the new Masters of the Universe movie. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this. I think it's fine, personally. I know because he's been, you know, Morbius, he was the Joker, and not a lot of folks had a huge reaction to him playing the Joker. They're like, oh, he's going to bring that Joker energy to this film. But when we stop to think about it, Jared Leto really is a pretty good actor. It's almost like when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. I'm like, no, Ben Affleck is Batman. That's horrible. And then when he does it, he's like, oh, snap, Ben Affleck is Batman. Did you see that? Did you see that? And now people are reacting differently to it. This is all about the writing, right? If the film is written in a terrible way where he's coming off in a way that we don't like, that's all in the writing. But as far as somebody as talented as Jared Leto taking on one of the most iconic villains, he's there. But the director has to give him direction, right? If Jared Leto didn't have all those tattoos and have to do all that stuff in the movie, I think we would have loved it, because he was starting to portray himself more of like the Joker from the animated series than anything else. But it went way off. It got really punk alternative and went in a different direction. But that, I don't blame Jared Leto. I blame the writing and the director for allowing that look, right? He didn't have to greenlight that look. I don't know what people think of as Jared Leto as an actor, though. I think he's really good. I'm curious what you all think about him as an actor. But I think he's a really good actor, and I think he's actually in a good position to be really good in this role. Is he going to be super musculature like all the characters? I don't know. Is this even a live action film? Is he going to be CGI just doing the voice? Maybe. You know, there's a lot of different ways that they can do this character. Is he going to do full prosthetics and makeup? Maybe he likes doing that stuff too. But either way, I think he's in a decent position to do the character justice. My real thing is just who's going to be He-Man and why it should be Alan Ritchson. If it's not Reacher, if Reacher isn't He-Man, I don't even know what we're doing. Right? It's either He-Man or Thor. It's got to be either Chris. I can't think of the Thor actor's name. Chris Hemsworth or Alan Ritchson, and those are the only correct choices. Let me see what you guys are saying in the comments. I know we went off on woke and all that stuff, so sometimes some of them, some people might have gone off on that tangent, and I hope you guys aren't fighting in the comments about this. This is crazy. Nick Fury didn't become interested until Sam Jackson. David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury Fox show was okay. I thought it was cool. I was cool with the Caucasian Nick Fury, but it definitely got a lot more interesting to me when the Ultimate Comics came out, and we were like, "Oh snap, that's Sam Jackson!" And I was like, "Was that intentional?" And they were like, "Yeah, it is." So I know a lot of people were upset with it, but because Sam Jackson is just such a good actor, I don't think they made as big of as they were as loud about it. You have to go by storytelling before you can judge it. I agree. I agree. I want to see what the story is for this before I judge it. I totally want to see what they do with him. But he's like clay, right? If you're a director and you're supposed to make a sculpture of something, he's like the most malleable clay that you can have. You turn him into what you want him to be. So Jared Leto, Academy Award nominated, maybe even winning actor. He's it doesn't get much better than that. Lisa S. Miss Win LS. Miss Win LS. Okay, Miss Win LS. Okay. Earth Abides is a good concept, but depressing as all hell. Has been trying to add a bit of cheer. Is it? Damn. I'm sorry. I'm gonna see if I can watch it though. I'm gonna check it out. Wakanda was invented in Comic Boom. A lot of places were invented. Metropolis was invented. Gotham City was invented. Yeah, Wakanda was invented too. Star City. A lot of superhero places were created. Woke is telling people what to think and changing everything from tradition to progression. That's why they are entitled. I don't need anyone telling me to think, especially Hollywood. Again, originally woke was just being aware of cultural things outside of your culture. So that was the original meaning of it. Changing things from tradition to progression. That's why they are entitled. Who's entitled? I'm curious. Who are you identifying as entitled in this one? I don't need anyone telling me what to think, especially Hollywood. I mean, Florida is burning books on American history. They're saying slavery didn't really exist and that instead Black people were given skills for 400 years. They were taught how to, life skills and stuff. So that to me is changing people and being told what to think. So if that's the case, then Florida's kind of woke for telling people how to think. So then that's where this is where I like, and again, don't take this the wrong way. It's like when I have a theory, right? I'm like, if you poke too many holes into it, then it's probably not a well-rounded theory. I'm really just trying to like not offend, but kind of poke holes in it. Like, hey, is this define woke, right? Like define it and let's see if we could poke holes in it as if it was a from theory together. And we could definitely do that. I think this is a safe place. I'm giving you guys the platform to do that. Just don't get nasty. Don't start fighting. Don't get racist about it. And then, we could kind of talk and have that dialogue. Because I honestly think that if we talk more about it, I think, when you hear that term common ground, and I hate that term, but I think the more we talk about it, the more we understand each other's perspective and maybe change the narrative. I didn't like that Doctor Who casted a woman as the Doctor, but I still gave it a shot for 2 seasons. It's objectively terrible. A lot of people didn't like that they cast a Black dude as Doctor Who. It's the same thing. A lot of people don't want to see women or in positions like that. They don't want to see. But again, this isn't writing, right? This is casting you're talking about. So I didn't see what you said, TJ. I hope you don't say, oh, it was a terribly written season because they cast a woman. That's casting. That's not writing. That's completely different. The word is distraction. It was just done just that. Yes, it is. So, if you read enough conspiracy theory stuff or things like, I don't know, if you played Metal Gear Solid 2, you'll probably start to believe in the idea that things are put out there just to make us infight. So the original meaning of this word being one thing, and then the new definition of the word being propelled. If you're one of those conspiracy theorists, like sometimes I can be, you start to believe that, this feels like it's intentional. It feels like somebody's trying to make us argue with each other. They could have used any other word, right? Like you could have used any other word, but to use that specific word for this, it feels intentional. Let's see. Michael Caine said it best when he said, there's only 2 things I hate in this world: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch. And the Dutch were very intolerant of other people's cultures, right? They were very high in the in the slave trade. They were one of the major players. So yeah. Thank you politically and culturally. You're welcome. I don't know what I said, which part you're thanking me for, but you know, just expressing my beliefs. Shouldn't be used while speaking about the Little Mermaid. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it should be used. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think people should say the reason this movie was bad was because of the cast, was because it was woke. You know, if you're saying that is the writing, say it's the writing. You know, if you're saying you just didn't think the actress acted it very well, say that. You know, maybe I didn't really care for her performance. That's fair. But to just specifically say it bombed because you know they casted a black person, then that's not, that's something else. That's something else. Uh Elvis was a culture vulture. I wasn't alive when Elvis was around, so I only know things about Elvis that I heard secondhand. Um Oppressors made things different meanings, but oh wow. You know, I haven't heard that word oppressors until I went to Africa. When I went to Africa, it was the first time I heard that word. So that's an interesting that's interesting that you brought it up. I never hear it like in the United States. When I went to Africa, they were like, "Oh, the oppressors," and they were like, "Wait, did they hear me?" Like they're still there. Like interesting. Um, Rolling Stones were woke for appropriating black music in the '60s. I listen. This is divisive conversation. I'm not trying to be divisive. I want to get I want us to unite, right? Like, you know, there's no reason, you know, white people shouldn't be able to rap, right? If not, we would have been robbed of Eminem. There's no reason, you know, black people shouldn't be able to do country music. You know, there's no reason. We don't have to be divisive. It's not these things are just for one people. If you don't like the music, you don't like the performance, say that. But don't be like, I don't like it because this person's skin color, or, you know, that's not cool. Matt Worth, woke seems to become a blanket term for things people don't like. Wasn't always that way though. Matt, yes, it's been politicized. It's been taken and used. Um, you know, a lot of people have their opinions about what woke means. And I know, again, I feel really, really, it hurts me that something that was originally meant to just say, hey, you know, people are seeing me. I feel seen. Like, hey, you know, my sister died in childbirth and nobody cared. Or my aunt died in childbirth and nobody cared. And this one doctor was like, yo, this woman says that she's in pain. Get her some treatment, get her some help. Like, yo, this dude woke up and came and helped us. Like it used to mean one other thing. And it really pains me that now it's used for something else. Jared Leto's 52. What? Stop playing. He's 41. He's stop. Let me see what else. At the movie blog. Oh, this is for me. Ultimately, a meritocracy, which realistically is unrealistic. None of that shit matters because the most qualified gets the job. I've never lived in a world where meritocracy was a thing. You know, I go to work and there's not a lot of diversity. I work in finance. I go to banks all the time. I walk through their offices all the time. There's not a lot of diversity. So there's a lot of people, I guess, under that belief is saying, hey, only people who are capable or of one makeup, one genetic makeup and look, you know, if you don't look like this, then you're not capable. You know, that's what it feels like it's implying. So I've never been to a place that was a meritocracy. And I agree with you that it doesn't come off as realistic because I don't think it should be, you know. But I think people should be comfortable with how they believe and what they want to do and say and just own it. Own it. 10 toes in it. This is how I feel. You know, don't hide and be like, oh, I don't think, you know, brown people, yellow people, black people. Just say that. Like, I don't like those other colors. Say that. You know, don't hide behind something. Next piece of news, and this is an interesting one for me. Definitely, yeah. Florida is doing the most. I'm not a huge fan of Florida right now. Listen, Skylar, why you been so late lately? Right? Last time you caught me at the end, and I'm still trying to wrap up. Why you been so late? What you been doing? You moonlighting? You got a job? You a DEI? No, let me stop before I say you're a diversity high and rub somebody the wrong way. I'm sorry, but thank you for coming through. Appreciate seeing you all the time. Yeah, I know that's from Austin Powers. I know I'm a huge Austin Powers fan, and the Dutch. Real quick, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse has some directors. So I thought this was really cool that they've got directors for this, because it feels like the movie's actually happening. And it almost makes me wonder, did they start the movie yet? Like, it don't feel like they started the movie yet if they're just now hiring directors. So what's been happening? So, originally this movie was supposed to come out March 2024. I was super excited for it. I put it as one of the top 10 films I'm looking forward to in 2025. But if they're just now hiring directors, I'm like, dang, this movie ain't coming out till like 2027. It's going to be a while before we get the last part, which kind of sucks because it ended on a cliffhanger, the second one. But I do like that they are, they've tapped some directors for it. Justin K. Thompson and Bob Persichetti, excuse me. Let me change my banner, right? So I do like that they have some new directors. I will admit I'm a little curious how this is gonna go. Like, Miles is one of those characters that I've always cared a lot about, but it feels like he's always in the hands of non-black creators. I know Kemp Powers was a co-director on the second one. He was there. Like, if you look at into the Spider-Verse directors, right? They had 3 directors: Peter Ramsey, Rodney Rothman, and Bob Persichetti. So he's one of the original directors from the original film. And I was like, all right, we got Peter Ramsey here. He's a black guy. He's helping working on this. That's pretty cool. And then Across the Spider-Verse had Joaquin Dos Santos, Justin Thompson, and I want to say Kemp Powers was in here too. I don't know why he's not coming up, but they had a black dude, they had a Latino dude, they had Justin here. I was like, all right, cool. It helps with the fact that he's half black, half Latino. He's in the hands of creators like that. But now seeing him in the hands of non-black creators, I was like, oh, all right, we're back to kind of what I remember him from. To this day, like, if you look at the comic books, I don't think a black writer has ever had the privilege of writing Miles on his ongoing series. He was originally created by this dude. Is the guy who created Miles Morales, Brian Michael Bendis. And I actually have an interview on my channel with Brian Michael Bendis, just thanking him for creating Miles and just, being sensitive to the way his racial makeup and how he's presented in comics, because he didn't have to. He could have been like the dude who wrote that What If Miles Morales was Thor and made him super stereotypical. But he actually wrote him with care. So I thanked him for it. And I gave him some, concern about how I was nervous that Miles is not going to be in his hands anymore and he's going to be in other people's hands. And that, that was cool. I'm a DEI YouTuber. What happened with the original Spider-Verse directors? Kemp Powers, I don't know if I'm allowed to say. Like, I know what happened, but I don't think it actually hit the headlines. I'm gonna just say he chose not to return. So yeah, so Kemp Powers, but they never really used the same people for each film. It's like maybe 5 or 6 people in the room. You 3 are directors, you 3 are producers, and they'll just interchange roles. Kind of like with From, you got Jack, John, and Jeff, and they bounce story ideas off each other, even though one's the director, one's the writer, one's the producer. So yeah, Brian Michael Bendis. He wasn't always skinny, Dragnet. He wasn't always skinny. He was a big guy. And then he got skinny over time. So yeah, I've always liked. I feel like I gave a lot of credit to the 2 Spider-Verse films because they had black and brown people working on it from a position of influence. And I felt like it benefited from it. It's like stuff I didn't even see in the comics. I was like, man, this is really good. And so I'm curious what the direction is going to be when the 3rd film comes out. So ensemble film for sure. The third one's going to be an ensemble, but I'm curious to see what direction it goes and how the film, if we're going to notice any tonal differences. So that's my thing there. But I'm curious what you guys think of it. What do you guys think of this directors coming in? Are you fine with it? Do you have any questions about it? Do you think 2027 is too soon, or are we really looking at 2028? Because it doesn't even seem like they've gotten started yet. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. My baby loved Miles. Man, I love Miles. Look, you know what? I'm going to show you guys something you guys don't normally see because of the camera angle. That is a decal my wife got me for a birthday of Miles Morales over New York City with the movie blog text in Spider-Man font. So she got it for me as a birthday gift. I'm a huge Miles Morales fan. Me and my kids argue about Miles Morales all the time. I'm right there with you. So he's still with us, and Miles is still influencing the world the same way he influenced your baby, Carrie. So thank you for sharing that. I'm not a comic book fan. My kid wanted to see it, so we did. It was pretty good. Some of the flashing I didn't like, but the movie wasn't bad. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good Spider-Man film. I think it was one of the better Spider-Man films that have come out recently. I definitely will say, and this anybody could disagree, I honestly think that the Spider-Verse films have been better than the first two Tom Holland films, Homecoming and Far From Home. When I saw the second Spider-Verse, there was a little black boy about 5 years old who kept telling his mom every fact about Spidey. He was like, "That's 616 Spider-Man. He did that." Yeah, he's bringing it. He's making comic book fans. It's I feel like I'm gonna touch on woke again, and I'm trying not to backtrack on it, but it's like, when you see a character you can see yourself in, it feels a little bit more important to you, right? Like James Bond, I'm sure is like every Brit's like, guy is like, yo, he's British, he's James Bond, he's so debonair, he's so suave. And same thing with like T'Challa with Black Panther. Black kids were like, oh, I see him, I see me in him, I could be that one day. Like we can actually pretend that we can be that one day because it seems familiar to us. So I kind of understand when some people are like, oh, Ariel was supposed to be redheaded and white or Scandinavian, and now you just took away one of the characters my daughter was able to see themselves in because my daughter's Scandinavian with red hair. I kind of see that, right? Like I'd be annoyed if one of my favorite black characters all of a sudden looked different. So that's why I'm like, I'm not trying to choose a side or anything like that. I'm just trying to open a dialogue so we understand each other. I see you. I see you. Dragnet, are you going to try to cover Avatar? Here they are close. Which Avatar? The James Cameron or the Last Airbender? I love the Last Airbender. The first two Spider-Verse films have been the best adaptations across live action animated, in my opinion. If the Oscars respected animation, but both films would have been up for Best Picture. I really love Spider-Man 2. Like the one with Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus. I really love that. So Spider-Verse films are really good, but I think that film with Tobey Maguire hit me at the right stage of life to really respect that film because he was going through his transition from being a person who could be completely self-absorbed or prioritizing himself to somebody who had to care about others in a different way. And that was along the time I was becoming a dad, and I was like, all right, you got an adult now. So the second Spider-Man 2 really holds an important place in my heart. I'm going to touch on this really quickly and then move through it. James Bond was based on Christopher Lee, who was literally a spy and saw the last guillotine beheading in France as a kid. Cool. I respect how that was written. I would love to see an original character, and I would be okay if they came out with like 008 and it was Idris Elba, right? Like I'm cool with that. It doesn't have to be exactly James Bond. But yeah, I respect that. Man, love both Spider-Verse films. Animation on the second film was spectacular. I see what you did there. It was spectacular. It was sensational. It was amazing. I see what you did there. Let me see. I'm gonna just say this. I haven't seen either of these movies yet. Disney did invite me to see Mufasa. It was during one of my live streams, so I couldn't do it. I didn't get an invite to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but I might take my kids to see it because my kids keep asking me about it. But I was shocked that Sonic outpaced The Lion King. I shouldn't have been, because Sonic had a lot of previous good word of mouth on the previous film. Lion King had middling word of mouth. But from the folks I know who saw it, I've seen extremes. Like one of my writers on the movie blog, he's like, he gave it a really, really low score. And E-Man wrote a review on the movie blog and he gave it like a 7 or 8. He's like, nah, it's a cool movie. So it's a wide range of what people feel about it. I'm going to watch them eventually, but I don't know. Last Airbender, not Giant Smurfs. I want to. So Netflix was cool enough when the first season came out, they gave me the first episode. But coverage is an interesting term. Like, I'm not going to do deep dives on each episode. That's not going to happen. The reason I don't do that is because in order for me to feel validated in doing deep dives, I need weekly releases. If they put the whole season up at once, then it's a huge effort to try to get a deep dive on one episode, let alone like 8 at a time. That's just, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to do that. But if I get the opportunity, if they do it weekly and if they hook me up with screeners, then yeah, 100%. I saw Black Panther 13 times in theaters. I cried every time the ship first pulls past the hologram to show Wakanda. I know it's a film, but I thought, imagine where we'd be without white colonists. You know, that made me think about a couple of shows that were supposed to come out. I think Aaron Magruder was making one, like what if slavery didn't happen, where Africans would be. And then another one was going to be done by the Game of Thrones writers, DB Weiss and David Benioff. They're going to do like a revisionist history. No, I think it was two different shows. I forget. It's like, what if the South won the war and segregation and the black people were given a part of the country? Like it makes me wonder about those shows that were going to talk about it that got canceled. I would have loved to have seen those ideas come through. As far as where we'd be without white colonists, it's hard to say. I think Africa would be a lot more developed than it is now. It wouldn't be viewed as, it's like, you know, the bottom of the barrel in countries to live or continents to live in as far as like the infrastructure. But it's hard to say because, you know, if we had control of our natural resources, then yeah, kind of like, you know, the Emiratis, they have control of their oil, and it's one of the most it is like a Wakanda, as futuristic as Dubai is. But if Africans had control of their natural resources or the oil and stuff, there's a good chance. There's definitely a good chance. So yeah, I was surprised by the Hedgehog winning this. I shouldn't have been surprised. I don't know who's seeing it or who saw it or what your thoughts are of it, but that caught my eye. Let me see. There's a story about Peter Jackson giving him directions for how to act when a man is stabbed in the back. CL turned to PJ and said, "Have to ever been stabbed in the man in the back? Because I have." Christopher Lee. Oh yeah. Christopher Lee. He was an interesting man. He was an interesting man. God rest his soul. Sonic did better in part because we all know that ultimately happens to Mufasa. I ain't trying to be sad the whole movie knowing his own adopted brother murks him. I like the idea of the revisionist theory that he wasn't from royalty and that he was adopted. It almost felt like Moses and Ramses. So I was curious to see where that would have went. Yeah, Aaron Magruder show folks that black people got their own country in the South after the Civil War, became prosperous while white America became poor and tensions would rise. Yeah, that would have rubbed people the wrong way, right? Because that right there, people are gonna be like, that's woke. And like, well, what's woke about it? There's no black people or taking over white roles or anything. It's just black people prospering. Well, black people prospering is woke. And, you know, it goes into those things where people get offended easily, and some people's offense feels more important than others. Richest dude in America was a black guy from Africa, and he completely tanked the world's economy by giving out gold. You know, it's interesting. I saw the other day somebody pointed out that Elon Musk is the world's richest African American, and he changed the he messed up the economy with Dogecoin. So you see the parallels there. You see the parallels, and I love the joke that Chris Rock had with pointing out Elon Musk as an African American, because he is an African American. He's definition of African American. But it almost feels like it would be offensive to call him an African American. Like, I would love to hear him react to being identified as African American, if he would embrace it or just be like, don't call me that. I don't like Blumhouse horror. Oh, we're talking about this. I'm gonna get back to you, David. The Mummy reboot set at Blumhouse with Evil Dead Rise director Lee Cronin. I'm curious about the Mummy being rebooted. I like the idea of the Mummy. I hope they I don't necessarily need it to be horror as much as I need it to be adventure. There's a lot of horror elements in the Mummy, right? Like, there's some moments where it's like, yeah, this is getting kind of dark. So if they're able to find a balance in that, I would have really, really loved that. Lee Cronin, I don't know much about his work. Evil Dead Rise was fine. Let me see what else he did. Like, does he have a good body of work for me to really get a sense of him as a director? 4 wins, 14 nominations for awards, 50 States of Fright, The Hole in the Ground, Minutes Past Midnight, Ghost Train, The Master Plan, Billy and Chuck, Through the Night, Wilbur and Anto. A lot of this stuff is 6.5, so it's not bad. I mean, the Mummy movies probably didn't have overwhelming scores when it came out. 89% of the people liked it. 62% thought it was rotten. So there you go, right? I love The Mummy. I think it was one of my favorite movies ever. But if you look by what critics were saying about it, 62% said it's 62%. Metacritic gave it 48%. People didn't like it. So if by that logic, this guy is ahead. This guy is ahead. This guy is ahead. Oh man, I forgot to change my banner. But yeah, this dude is ahead. So if he's going to be taking over the Mummy, I respect it. I'll give him a shot. If you go by just what critics are saying about the other films and his films, then he lines up with what we need. I just hope he understands that horror needs to be balanced with humor. Don't go the Tom Cruise route. Woke is about identity politics. It doesn't matter what politics are. It is the act of thinking you can force them onto someone else. So again, woke wasn't meant to mean that, right? Like, woke was meant to say that, I guess Google caught on to me, so it took it away. But woke was originally meant to mean that, you know, you're culturally aware of other people's issues. And now the new definition is used in identity politics. But yeah, the idea that you can force something onto someone else, I mean, this is America, right? People get forced things here all the time. A lot of ways of thinking that are forced on me. People used to force on me that Christopher Columbus was, you know, a hero. And then you read history and it's like, actually, he's kind of a pirate, right? He's kind of a pirate. Didn't he have slaves? Wasn't he a slaver? Wasn't he selling people? Like, you know, but, you know, we still celebrate in a lot of places Christopher Columbus Day. But that's forced on people, right? Like, I hear right now, they're going to enforce the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. Like, if you're going to go to school in America, you got to pledge allegiance. You got to force that on the people who may not even be from this country. They got to pledge allegiance. Christianity is coming back to schools. If you're another religion and you want to go to school in America, you're gonna be taught Christianity, right? Doesn't matter if you're Catholic, doesn't matter if you're Islamic, doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist. Christianity is going to be forced on you. So That's why I'm like, let's poke holes at the word woke again, because it's a two-way street. You can't be woke in one direction and not woke in the other. Otherwise, then it feels like something is being hidden behind the word woke. So again, David, you're always welcome here. Appreciate you giving me your time. I'm not trying to argue or highlight or pick on you or anything like that, but I do want to have this dialogue with us as friends, so we have a common understanding of each other. Hated The Rock and the Mummy. I think we all dislike The Rock and the Mummy as much, even though The Mummy 2 is still a really fun movie. His acting was rough. The CGI was rough. He was I think that was his first role, so I didn't expect him to be that great. Never really did acting in a movie before, but it's fine. What do you think about Brendan Fraser? Do you think I think he could. Could he come back as Rick O'Connell? No, he doesn't even have the hair anymore. I mean, they could get him hair. They can put a wig on him, but he'd have to drop a little bit more weight, or he'd have to take a different role. He could take a backseat to his son or something, and his son be the lead. But they didn't even do that with Indiana Jones. I think that if anything, they'll recast and just try to find someone who's as fun as Brendan Fraser to take that role, and see what happens there. First Mummy, super fun. Scorpion King, pretty bad though. It was. But you know what? Under the right circumstances, you can find fun in it. I liked how some people say sequels are supposed to be remakes of the original while still forging your own path. And in that regard, it was kind of like Gladiator 2. So yeah, Scorpion King had a lot of bad things. I loved what they added to the lore. A Nox in the Moon. I like that stuff. But yeah. Let me see. I love the Mummy movies. It's not just me. Even though they weren't all that great, I like them. They bastardize woke for political reasons. It makes us divisive, because now we're always going to have that contention about the word being repurposed, right? As long as that's there, then it's hard for us to even agree. Let's see. The movie blog, just to be clear, I was not being offended by any skin color. I was offended by the stupid comment in the chat. Casting should be open to all colors and genders. Thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, I don't assume anything. That's why, I've lived a crazy life. Matt knows. Matt has been around for some of my life, and I've lived a really, really, really crazy life. Matt was one of the people that helped me when I was at my lowest, at my absolute lowest. He didn't have to either. Right. I'm forever grateful to Matt Worth in this chat for that. Right. He taught me so much. I learned a lot. He helped me get a job when I couldn't find work. I'm very appreciative of him. So thank you for that. And, thank you for that. I'm forever grateful. Next time I'm in Buffalo, I definitely owe Matt some beers. I couldn't get down with the board games, but that's cool. I'm definitely down for a lot of stuff. How's the pizza? It's cold, man. It's been sitting here and I can smell it. Let me try it. The kids made it. Let me try it. Like they made their own dough. Amen. Okay. He works at a pizza shop. You could, that boy, good. Anyway, let me start to wrap this up. Woke was about being aware of people's issues, but also being aware of how these systems work so Black folk could not move around them. Cops pull over our nice cars, so have your license ready. Yeah. I remember the first time I went to one of my friends who weren't Black, and I was like, did you ever have to talk? And they were like, what the fuck is the talk? I'm like, what to do when you get pulled over? I think my behavior is 100% because it's been impeccable. I've avoided so many issues. For everybody of color with children, you tell your kids, what to do when you get pulled over. And I know there's going to be people without color who are going to be like, what? You're going to tell us what the talk is? And it's not about sex. My thing I always told my kids is like, if you ever get pulled over when you're driving, never, ever reach for your pocket. You will die. He will shoot you. And I'm not going to win. I'm going to go to jail too for assaulting that cop. Never reach in your pocket. If you do need to reach for your pocket, for your license or something, you ask permission. Keep your hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 2 at all times. Sir, may I please reach in my pocket to grab my license? Don't move your hand until you get permission. Can I use my right hand while leaving my left hand? Can I use my left hand while leaving my right hand? Don't use both hands. Only do it with his permission or her permission. Never get out of the vehicle. Another thing that I always say is when you do get pulled over, pull over the car, turn the key off, put the key on the roof. Right? If you take the keys out of the ignition, you put them on the roof. This way, it'll help the police officer know that you're not going to try to run. You're not going to try to pull off. You're not going to do anything slick. You're showing a gesture that you're of compliance. So I always have these talks with my sons, my nieces, my nephews. You get pulled over, speak to them respectfully, even if they're disrespectful to you, even if you did nothing wrong. If you can walk away with your life and a ticket, then you won. Because there's way too many of us who are not surviving. So especially in the United States, we still have sundown towns, right? There's still towns in the United States where I just can't drive through after the sun goes down. I remember driving through, even in New York State, a city that I thought was like really beautiful. It was like something that looked like Pleasantville. And I wanted to get out and just take in the area. But then I looked around and I'm like, oh shit, it's really homogenous here. I'm really feeling nervous. Let me just keep driving. Low on gas and everything. I'm not going to stop here for gas. Start driving through the town. Next thing I know, there's 7 motorcycles following me. I speed up, they speed up. I slow down, they slow down. None of them are passing me. Nobody's going in front of me. I put my car in cruise control and I have to drive through the rest of this town for 40 minutes really slowly. When I hit the border of the town, they turned. Is the reality I live in. And I'm grateful to God every day that I survived that circumstance, because I honestly felt like I was going to die that day. I honestly did. Just for driving in the wrong town. So yeah, that talk is really important. Be respectful. And the key thing I say, Skylar, take the keys out the ignition. If you still have one of those cars that have keys, put it on the roof of the car when you get pulled over. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Ask permission if you need to reach for your wallet or license or registration or any of that stuff. It'll help save lives. My kids are Aboriginal. They don't have to worry about that. Big difference here in Australia. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if they come to America, teach them these things. Teach them these things, because when they come to America, they're not going to be treated the same way they're treated when you're around. And I've heard a lot of people, a lot of dads who are like, the dad is white, the mom is black, or if these freaking cops mess with my kid, I'm going to F them up. It's a dangerous game. Teach your kids how to survive in this world. Scary stuff. So yeah, I went off on tangents. We start talking about racial stuff. I got stuff I have to do. My family's here. My son flew in from out of town. Matt knows about my son. He's from Matt's part of the world. Let me see. It wouldn't be realistic to have a woman play Superman, Spider-Man, or Batman. As a woman, I can still appreciate the messages of hope and perseverance, even though no, but not a woman to play Clark Kent, Peter Parker, or Bruce Wayne. But we do have Lara Kent, who plays Superwoman. We have a myriad of Spider Women. There's just original characters, and we have Batwomen and Batgirls. So they still inspire hope. We have a Superwoman story that's coming through DC Studios. That's the second film in the DCU, and you don't have to just change the existing character. You can make new original characters in that world, which is why I was saying, if James Bond, they want to get somebody black, make him 008, make him 009, make him somebody else. We had a 006. I don't know if we ever had a 005, but we had a 006 with Alec Trevelyan. I'm excited for the idea of original characters. We don't have it. I mean, every country has their own thing, and I don't think it's I don't think we should glamorize any country. Every country has their thing. wish we could go back to the message MLK was saying, content of character. That's almost like what Dragnet was saying, where it's meritocracy, but it's not a meritocracy. We're a country where we find somebody has to be at the bottom, right? Somebody has to be at the bottom of the social game, and otherwise things won't work. One thing I recommend is I saw this movie Origin by Ava DuVernay, and it really made me a little bit more aware of how intentional some of our social landscape is by the people who have influence. They design conflicts between racial groups and figure out at a round table, like kind of like a board meeting. They're like sitting here like, all right, well, how do we make this group go against this group? And that was an amazing movie. It opened my eyes to how the Nazi Party was inspired by what Americans was doing to Black people to design their treatment of Jewish people. So I absolutely recommend, if anybody has the time, it's one of my favorite hybrid movies, part drama, part documentary, where you get to see a lot of the intention behind a lot of the people in political power. Yeah, Sundown Town still exists. I will never drive through Savannah, Georgia at night. Period. And was a man in his 60s in the Bond films. Then Bond went woke, right? Emma's a woman now. I'm waiting for all the people who hate woke to go petition James Bond now. And while you're at it, go petition The Boys. Go petition all those movies that did these things. Be consistent, or be honest. Hey, appreciate that. But man, eat food's gonna be cold. About to house some chicken parm myself. Merry Christmas, Matt. Yo, I'm gonna hit you up. Thank you. Tell your brother I said what up, and tell him I said fuck Mike Wolf. Like, I appreciate Mike and you and all you guys have done for me. Right. I still speak very highly of you guys to my friends and family. Yes, Origin was an amazing movie. But yeah, it does, and I like how it talks about the caste system in India. Caste, the system in India, with how they still have it. It's still a thing. So yeah. Anyway, I went off on way too many tangents. We talked about we talked about Denzel, we talked about Jared Leto, we talked about Spider-Verse, Sonic 3, and The Mummy. I think that's all I'm gonna do for this time. I really appreciate you all coming through, showing support. Love you all. I'm probably not going to do a live stream next week just because it's like close to New Year's Eve and I got things to do. So I will be back on the 6th of January. Love you all. Appreciate it. If I don't see you, if you don't hear from me, thank you all again. I appreciate you. Spend time with your family. Eat, be merry, be jolly, and watch Lord of the Rings, the extended editions. You'll thank me. Until next time, I'm going to check you all later. Peace.